Call meeting to order. Shelley, can you roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. District 1, Councilman Reed.
Present.
Dorf.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Latham. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Gamaros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Chief Robinson, could you lead us in the invocation, please?
Our kind Father in heaven, we're grateful unto thee for the blessings that we have, for this community that we have to live in. We're grateful for the things we've been blessed with. At this time, Father, we would ask that thy blessings be on those in our community who may be in need, as well as those throughout the world who may be suffering at this time. Please watch over and bless them. Please bless this body as they discuss and deliberate and conduct the business of the city this evening, that they may do so in a manner that will be pleasing unto thee, and that will be to the benefit of those who reside here. Please bless those who watch over and serve this community. We pray for these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Mariano, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with summary of current events, and we'll start with you, Mariano, on that end.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today I had the opportunity to tour Resolution Mine, and that in itself is an amazing investment and project. But what I really want to talk about is lunch afterwards and meeting, and not just the food, Jesse, but meeting with representatives of the mine, the county, and other city officials 2 doors down in Resolution's offices. I didn't know there was so much economic development activity going on besides the city of Globe. Planning is being done in many different avenues, some of it through Resolution, but across the board in the region, I just want to comment, there's a lot of positive development action going on right now. So please, everyone out there in Zoom, pay attention to the newspapers, read what's happening in some of the other out-of-town papers. Pinal County, you're going to be pleasantly surprised in the upcoming months, not just what's happening in the city, but in the entire region. So I just wanted to comment on that and pass this down to the mayor. This rock came, I think, from the 1,200-foot level, and little memento for you. You can throw it at somebody when you need to.
Man, there you go.
Feel warm.
Yeah, it is very warm down there. Yes. There you go, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
You bet.
Fernando.
Yeah, well, I got a rock when I got to blast the mountain. Jerry let me blow up the mountain when he worked for ADOT, so I put a date on it. No, I have nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Freddie.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I had the opportunity to stop down here at the Silver King property to see where the kids were doing mural painting, and I just want to give them a compliment. I believe they're from Miami High School art class. They're doing an excellent job, and I think it's a plus for the community to see that wall painted. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo what my colleague Mariano said. With the economic development going on within the Copper Corridor, it's amazing to see. And going on that tour, if you haven't been on it, I highly suggest you go. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. Some negative comments out there can be weighed in different ways if you just happen to go and take the time to talk to one of them. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. We just have a few things. I noticed we have a community cleanup posted here that I want to mention to everybody. I know we'll be involved as far as Globe Clean Beautiful as well. But this is April 8th and 9th, and the dumpsters placed throughout the community so you can get rid of all the garbage that you need to do. I know when I was in charge of Globe Clean Beautiful everything was allowed in the dumpsters except tires and appliances, I believe. So I think this is along the same line, so this is a really good thing to do. So I'd like to see if we can get these posted around the community if we can. And then I just want to welcome James Sullivan to the crowd. Thanks for showing up, buddy. He's a regular customer of mine, and I invited him to come on in tonight.
Great.
We work.
Good, good.
Thanks, James.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. That's all I have, Barry.
Thank you, Mike. I got a few things. Before I start on my comments, I'd like to ask everybody for a moment of silence. I was told or informed that Mrs. Diane Wheeler passed away, wife of former Mayor Terry Wheeler. So we can have a moment of silence for Diane Wheeler. Thank you very much. Going along with, on the mural down below, this is a project that this funding was awarded to our Globe team that we were part of before COVID. It was myself, Linda Adoneto, and two other individuals that were in the group. But there was another additional $15,000 awarded to our team from the Arts Commission in the state. So one of the work scopes that we had was a student project, and that's what this is. We have the students that have created the murals. We have, they are actually painting them. And I think tomorrow will be the last day they'll finally be done with all the murals, and that'll be on the wall. Go by and take a look at them. They did an amazing job. This is a career technical organization leadership class from Miami High School, led by Miss Mary Yazzie. She's amazing, enthusiastic. She's really got those kids out there. And there was about 12 of them out there painting today. I do want to thank my wife, Irene, for being out there every day that we've been preparing this wall, painting, cleaning, whatever we did. Councilman Gonzalez was out there when we did the base paint on it. Thea Wilshire and a lot of her group have been out there helping. They're also doing part of the murals. They're going to do the 4 back ones. Reminder that this on April 1st is First Friday. A lot of events going on leading up to Poppy Fest the following day. So we're trying to invite people to come up and on the night before, especially from the valley, and avoid the Renaissance traffic on Saturday. So if we can get people up here, it'd be great. But it's Friday and Saturday. The following week on the 9th is the Wings of Hope car show, and it'll be on the south end of Globe. And then on the north end of Globe will be the firefighter benefit bike run down by the drift in that area there. So a lot of activity going on that weekend. So we expect to see a lot of people in town. And just another thing is the Citizens Academy begins tomorrow, and it'll go for 6 weeks. 7 weeks, and we're excited about it. I understand we have 18 participants this time, so it'll be great. So we start tomorrow night and every Wednesday for 2 hours. So thank you. Okay, Paul, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, no, we're real excited about doing Citizens Academy. We have a full house. I think 18 is about the most you can manage. And we have our ambassadors. I think, Kelly, we're about 5 ambassadors, I think. 6 ambassadors. But we want to make sure, our goal was to ambassadors or residents, and an ambassador is somebody who's not a resident of the Globe, but wants to partake. That we don't have the open slots, and we've achieved that goal. We have a full house, and so that's really good. And I thank it in advance all our staff who will be participating in that and helping out. They'll go through the different departments. But no, it's a good thing to share our story, which council's always asked us to do, and we're finding better ways to do that. The only other thing, staff is very busy, but we kind of got, we made it through the pandemic, and I won't say it's over, but got my fingers crossed. But we got in the bad habit of not taking the time off that we need to take off. At all levels, staff was sticking to their departments, to picking up slack, making sure things are done. This year, we're kind of on a push to make sure that people take the time and take it early before it piles up in December to take their vacation time, because they need that refresher away from that. And they have the time. They just have it's hard to say, wow, you're over on your 240 limit on your vacation time. It's like, but we won't let them take any time off because we need them. So we're trying to work that back into the ritual. So you will see I think more and more times where people are on vacation, and it's justly deserved. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have our first community call to the public, and again, this is a time when any resident would like to speak to the council and make comments, limited to 3 minutes. At this point, the council cannot respond, but can direct staff during this call to the public. If you do wish to speak to an item, you can fill out a speaker card and just put the item down, and at that point, we can respond to you. So do we have any speaker cards, anybody on phone or email?
Don't see anything in email.
So we'll go to special presentations and ceremonial matters. First, we have the National Library Week Proclamation, and I will read this proclamation for National Week 2022. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of connection and build community. Whereas libraries connect people to technology, providing access to broadband, internet, computers, and training that are critical for accessing education and employment opportunities. Whereas libraries offer opportunities for everyone to connect with new ideas and become their best selves through access to multimedia content, programs, and classes, in addition to books. Whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use their resources. Whereas in times of crisis, libraries and library professionals play an invaluable role in supporting their communities both in person and virtually. Whereas libraries serve and develop, maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity to access for all. Whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all the members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries and librarians and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Al Gameros, Mayor, City of Globe, Arizona, proclaim National Library Week, April 3rd to the 9th, 2022. During this week, I encourage all residents to connect with their library by visiting online or in person to access resources and services. We don't have an official document right now, Rael, but we'll get you one and get it signed, and then we'll present it to you. That way you can put it. And Rael runs our city library, and she does an amazing job, her and her staff. We thank you for everything you do there.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with council, Rael wanted to introduce her team.
Okay,
This
yes,
evening.
you bet. Please. I'm sorry. Should have asked that.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce our library staff. We finally are up to everybody, and so I'd like to introduce our staff. I have Melissa Williams, who's been, stand up,
There you go.
who's been with us the longest, and she was at the library before me and left, and now she's back, and we're excited to have her. And then we have Linda Burgo. And last but certainly not least is Daniel Cottrell. He's our newest member, and we're excited to have everybody with us.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, they do a wonderful job. They're on top of things. They make the trains run on time, and I know they're helping people. And I got a chance to sit in on one of the meetings, and it was very lively. But we'll talk about that later.
Mike.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as you know, I've been appointed to sit on the library committee, and I will tell you that Rael does, she goes beyond the, what is required for her. If you've noticed in the Globe Miami Times, every week she puts a full page article of information in there. Staff has always been very friendly, and when I've gone in to visit with them, I think they're very courteous to all the people, the public that go there. And I just want to congratulate them on what a good job they do down there.
Thank you. Item B, council will receive an update on financing options for the newly proposed fire station and northeast sewer extension. Jerry Barnes.
Mayor, members of council, I'd like to thank Paul for giving me at least 2 days to get this together. So, I told Riel not to make anybody mad before I got up here, so thank you.
Thank you, Rael.
So tonight I want to talk a little bit about two projects. One is the northeast sewer expansion that we've been talking about, and the process that we're going to go through, and then I want to go on from there to the fire station and where we're at on that, and then I guess I get to do the pool as well in item C. So lucky me. I had an hour on that. So anyway, let's start with the northeast sewer expansion. What we've been talking to is USDA about getting a loan grant from them, and maybe using a bridge grant or grant loan from WIFA. And I've done that in the past where we could actually use that for design and for preliminaries, and then as the construction took off, USDA pays that WIFA loan off. So that's an option. But to begin with, USDA and even at this point, WIFA prefers to get a PER, which is a preliminary engineering report, done in the area. And this process is a requirement of USDA, and it establishes the EDU or the equivalent dwelling units that are in the area, and gives us a relative cost of the system, which is pretty well some options, whether we put a new sewer plant out there or whether we actually put pump stations, because we'd have to pump things into our existing system. So all those things will be considered. It goes way beyond the sewer assessment that we had done by Kimley Horn, and it goes to the next level where it'll say you need a pipe here and you need a pump station that'll pump such and such here. So it's quite a bit more in detail, and it also establishes a price for this project for an engineering estimate for USDA to even consider. So, and grants for this portion can vary on a community like our own, in the same way we had over in Miami. The grants are usually about 75%. And so if you, I just give you for instance, if you put in a system, whether it be a new plant or a pump station that would tie into our existing plant, and it would cost you, say, $6 million. And then by the time you took the grants off, we would actually be financing 1.5 million over a 40-year cycle. It's somewhere around $3,400, $3,500 a month, something like that. So it's not, it's doable. And it also makes it to where you can build this, and the old saying, you can build it and it'll come. Well, if you're paying for it, you're paying for it. That's not a good theory. So if you can get 75% of that though paid for, it makes sense to develop the infrastructure so we can develop this area. So and the PER is going to tell us that. So the loan, portion of the loan grant is fixed at the time the funding is offered. So in other words, we make an application, and the application, by the way, maybe up here. So the application. So I'm saying it'll take a while to do that. We might reach out to, what is it, Paul, help me out with, Arizona First, is that what it's called? First something anyway.
The
You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they help fill out a lot of the paperwork and stuff. And we can reach out with them, but, I also got Rick Powers on board, so we can fill out a lot of the grants itself. So I provided you with some paperwork. Okay, the first one, the one that's on the cover, is the preliminary engineering review that the engineers would have to fill out and would have to document and do the report. And I kind of did these in two separate ways. Is I wanted the first one just to be on the northeast sewer, so that's this portion. The other thing that's required in this is a cost analysis of our rates. So it is also Wildan has given us some prices to do that, along with Kimmy Horn has given us a price to do the PER. The good part about this is both of those can be covered by a technical assistance grant that's offered and we can apply for. Those are actually pretty easy to get. It's for $150,000, but it would cover both of those Wildan proposals. One to give us a cost analysis on the rate study anyway. The other is give us a cost analysis on capacity. So what we're running into a lot here is people wanting to tie onto our system that are outside the city. You know, that our citizens actually pay the taxes and so forth that and have ownership in the plant and what's in the ground, and we don't want to just give that away. So when we have a community or a commercial building or something that wants to tie onto us that's out of the city, in most communities they charge them a capacity fee. That means that they pay for part of the plant, and in the past we've just kind of shot at the hip, and I've developed some cost on capacity based on some of the costs that we incur down there, but we kind of want it to be done professionally so we can present that next time it happens. So I think it's a good idea. So did Jeff ever get on the phone or get on the Zoom? Danny? So is
Hi, all. This is Jeff Tone from Kimmy Horn. Can you hear me?
Oh, there's
Yes, we
Jeff.
can hear you.
Kimmy Horn. Jeff, thank you for, I know the email was sent to you just recently, like 10 minutes ago. And so thank you for coming on. But can you explain what the PER will do and how you guys are going to do that and kind of the process?
Absolutely. Yeah. So as Jerry previously discussed, previously Kimmy Horn had conducted just a high-level study of the northeast area there near the fairgrounds and what the what the planning level population and flow projections would be in that area, and provided alternatives for a lift station and force main, which would take collected sewer from the fairgrounds area and pump it actually back to the existing City of Globe sewer system and treat at the existing wastewater treatment facility. And the second alternative was to actually have a satellite wastewater treatment plant up there near the fairgrounds and just serve the community at that location. And each has their pros and cons, which we had outlined in that previous report. But now moving into the preliminary engineering report, we would really narrow down and take it from what we had as more of a schematic layout of where the wastewater infrastructure would be, and actually place it in the correct frontage, the correct roads that we would expect it to follow along. And if we do go with a lift station and force main alternative, really where that would travel along the existing highway there. And like you discussed, Jerry, as well as we go through it and actually outline where the infrastructure not only will be, but we'll also have a more detailed plan for the size of infrastructure, the pipe diameters, as well as the potential pumps needed within the lift station to serve the area. Whereas before we were just doing more of a planning level estimate of population and flows. As you discussed, we'll go through the EDUs and get a more refined number there.
So,
Go ahead, Fernando.
Just a couple questions real quick. So, but we're also gonna look at building a facility out in that area, right?
the PER will show both options.
Okay. Just a,
Isn't that correct, Jeff?
Correct. Yes, there'll be two options, one for the treatment plant and one for the lift station. I do have an exhibit up. I can share screens as well if that'd be helpful.
and then I have a couple more questions. So I know that we expanded the capacity when we created that other pond, retention pond. And we used to be at about 50% capacity. Are we less than 50% capacity now?
So we are a little bit less than 50% because we've had enough, we've sealed enough of the plugs.
Okay.
And we've worked on enough lines so where there's not as much seepage in our system. We don't have enough water escaping us, and we don't have, or not escaping us, running into our system, the infiltration from the from stormwater. And so we've improved that some. It isn't a lot, but we've improved it some. We still have the WIFA projects that we're studying where we actually do have problems, but we're probably close to 45 to 50% right now, where before we were closer to 60. And then as we improve, after we do the WIFA project, which is sewer study, we'll identify some of our problem area, and we should be able to cut that even more. So we hopefully there'll be enough infrastructure or enough capacity within the plant to handle all this area out here. But remember, you know, if not, we can always add to it. Our temporary basin that's out there right now can be used for this. It's permitted to do that. We can be used for that expansion, but I think I would want to make improvements to it if we were going to use it on a permanent basis. So, because right now it's a pond with a liner in it.
So pumping sewage uphill is probably gonna have an increased capital cost. Will that be factored in?
It will have some capital costs, but it actually is less expensive than putting in a sewer plant and the capital cost that you would have from that.
But isn't the maintenance a lot higher?
The maintenance on the pump station is higher than a normal line, but it's less than the sewer plant.
Okay. And then one more question. So right now,
Jump in, Jeff, if I'm wrong on any of
our
this.
treated effluent,
No, you're not.
we have an agreement with the mines to take our treated effluent, right? And then, but this is not in that same basin.
It is not.
So would we be looking at what we would do with that treated effluent? Would we create something, a water,
If we took it back to our plant, we have an agreement with the mines to supply them at so many dollars per acre foot. So if we exceeded what we agreed as a minimum, they have been paying for it. And we have been discussing with them because they actually are really want the effluent that we would provide with any expansion in this area.
Okay, so there would be a market for that effluent?
Yes, there would. And so, and that's one of the, you know, in most cases, you would have to look at, it would cost us to build this and it would cost us to maintain this. That's one of the factors that Jeff will have to factor in as well, because there is a value to that effluent that we would be, that we already have established through Freeport.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Shipley, there's always, you know, some partnerships if depending on which way we go, but bringing it back to the current sewer plant for the people that benefit, there may be some areas for partnership and capital cost also.
So where we're at on, Jeff, did you have anything else? I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, no, nothing to add.
Okay, so where we're at right now is we're talking to Jeff Hayes with USDA. We're trying to make sure that we're dotting the i's and crossing the t's as we go into this. And we're also looking for partners as we go, because there is a 20, at minimum 25% match. We're also looking at after a discussion today and with some of the people we talked to, we're going to look at, I don't believe that the city has certified themselves as a colonial, and I believe that we need to do that.
We did it years ago, so I don't know if you have to recertify.
You don't have to recertify, but I was told by the county that it was never followed through on. So it might be something very simple. Was it you that told me that, Mike?
No, but you know, I remember we did the town of Miami.
Yeah, we did
but
Miami.
I don't
We
remember.
did the city of Globe at the same time, and we were working on the sewer project.
I don't think it ever.
I don't recall.
We voted on it, so it should be in the minutes.
Yeah, I don't recall it, the Globe being,
But it has to be
As a-
approved.
I was the mayor when we did it, so I'm pretty sure we
Okay.
did it. Yeah.
And we can look it up, but it needs to be approved through the county. So, so we might have just missed this stuff. And if so, it'd be easy to do.
yeah, it's
Uh,
just a matter of them approving it.
Yeah,
Really.
so I don't, there's too many opportunities. We talked to Bob Holmes today on another matter from Nexus, and Paul and I decided it was too good an opportunity on some of these things to not be a colonial. So we're going to in fact, that's on my schedule for tomorrow is to talk to the county about that. So thank you for the information. So maybe Shelley can research
SB was
that.
involved, so the lady from New Mexico, she was
Oh, yeah,
involved when we did it.
SB, okay.
Yeah,
And,
so she'll probably have notes on it.
but, and, cause we've seen where it's not included on a state list, and so we're gonna track down and figure out, I know everybody believes that we are, just make sure that we qualify, so when we do submit, and we have
'Cause
plenty
we're
of time.
within the distance, so you have to
Yeah,
be
we-
within 150 miles of the
Absolutely
coastline.
qualified, absolutely
Yeah, it
qualified.
just- it-
And when I was in Miami, they told me the Globe was.
Yeah, we did.
But they're not on the list, and the county says they never have had the final approval, so, we'll check it out, and if it not, there's, it's a matter of filing the paperwork and getting it on the agenda, so, we'll do that, but, okay, so what I wanna let you know on the USDA loan is, when, on the loan grant, when we do the repayment, or when we do, excuse me, the loan grant, the loan is first. So, it makes a difference. I mean, if you're talking about a $5 million loan grant and 1.25 of it is loan, you don't get into the grant until after you've spent the 1.25. And then the other thing is you start making payments on it, as soon as you borrow money. It doesn't wait till you're done. It starts at. But it is a lower interest rate. It's at currently at 1.5%. And like I say, I just got the paperwork back from Jeff yesterday. So that's where he's at right now on the sewer project as well. So I guess I think I covered everything that I need. Like I said, I think I said that the repayment on 1.25 or 1.5 million is around between 3,500 and 4,000 a month, something like that.
And Jerry, that's a 30 or a 40-year?
That's 4 years.
40-year, okay. And just a question, Jerry, on the PER, then that PER will show us whether we can handle it at our plant or if we need another plant. And it'll take into consideration all the area up there, because there's a lot of area
Everything.
that's not in the city that can be developed out there.
Yep.
So it'd be important to make sure that we include all that for future growth.
And it'll look at what could be built and not what is built. Okay, it'll look at maximum expansion out there. So and because we don't want to do this another time. So and it's an excellent opportunity for us to expand the city in that area. So any other questions on the sewer expansion? Okay, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you coming in.
And
Thanks, Jeff.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, and to Jerry, there was a lot of emails coming out about additional funding. USDA has some technical funds. We looked at that and see if that would apply. There's a, basically earmark request going out, and we have something else lined up, but we've been looking at all the different things. There's a lot out there. We still believe that given, all we have going on, this is the best method for this project, but there's other opportunities for other projects, and but because it's high priority and want to get this going, it's on Jerry's front burner.
Is this a prime time now because of the infrastructure bill out of Washington? Is this prime time to do that right now to accelerate it?
There's prime time to start new projects, but you have to apply and do some waiting. We have plenty of sewer and water projects. This one, I think we're going to take and do ourselves, and then let the other projects that we have, if we can fit them in, because Jerry has a list of 10 that we put together that we're submitting for federal money for, and so this is number 11.
That was the A list.
David,
That was the A list.
how big is that wastewater treatment plant, the prison?
For this one? It's a smaller plant. It's a smaller plant. It's probably $3.5–4 million plant, something like that. Let's just see how it comes out, but it might behoove us to take it to our other plant so we can sell the effluent. So, we need to look at the numbers because, it's not a race. We need to sustain this plant, because if we put another plant out there, remember, I gotta put a person in it too. And Paul Hendricks might be able to be the operator of record for both plants, but you still gotta operate these. And you still gotta mow the grass, you still gotta do all that stuff, so any part of the PER that we look at is gonna be maintenance and sustainability, so.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, and it would be, John has to make sure both these are operating functionally, for John to have crews split. We're also looking at partnerships with other sewer plants, if there's ways we can combine, and if so they're spread out, that's another problem. We're really sitting very well with a high quality modern sewer plant that's just been rehabbed, with 50% capacity. That's a lot for growth. Many communities hit that stepping stone when, it's great when you get to about 85%, and then you gotta start thinking about the future, and you don't just turn on another sewer plant the next day. So you would say that our sewer plant is prepared for growth, and we have that capacity. But we will look at both options about which way it goes. But my preference is to bring it back to the existing plant.
Go ahead.
What do you anticipate the growth being if the raised ridge comes into play?
It won't make a whole lot of difference. Okay. It won't make a whole lot of difference. We ran the numbers. We have a few different areas that are wanting to tie on to us, and that's one of the reasons we wanted the capacity study as well. So, like Alhambra's talked to us a couple of times, and we wanted a piece of paper that says we had the experts look at it, and this was it. But by doing the studies on those areas, I can tell you raised ridge is not going to make a big difference.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think that, we have customers within the city limits and customers outside the city limits. My preference is that if you want to join the city, you join the city fully. And so we want to save that capacity for people who want to be partners with the city and annex in. So that's one of the other reasons for doing the rate study, to make sure that we're not inadvertently subsidizing people who don't live in the city, by make sure they're carrying their weight on what we do.
And with the capacity study and a number, we can intelligently talk to these people about annexation and what money they would save. So, we've already had a couple come in. It's in fact the gentleman that was talking about Reyes Ridge at the meeting the other night has since come back to us and asked us about annexation. So a lot of positive things happening in the city. But anyway, if there's no other questions, I get into the fire station, and I happen to have an expert with me.
Good.
So I just wanted to talk about a little bit before Gary starts in, but the other part of what I sent to you is this, and it not only gives you an outline, but kind of gives you some drawings and so forth too, and Gary's going to show that that PowerPoint, but that's what that paper's for, and I'll turn it over to Gary for a little bit.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. So at the retreat, we had at least a brief opportunity to kind of give you some conceptual idea of what had been put together regarding the fire station, and primarily an exterior design concept that was proposed initially, along with a few other details. We've since received a little bit more information, some updated design things, and we wanted to cover those and kind of address some of the important design features that go into a fire station and what we're looking at in order to be able to serve the community going forward for years and years to come. If we want to go to the next slide. Yeah. There it is. So in looking at sites, I know over the course of the last few years, there's been a lot of discussion on potential sites. We had a lot of discussions. We finally settled on and purchased the site located at 3rd and Ash. There was a couple of things that were important regarding this. We have through the data that we collect in our reports, identified a corridor in which we provide the majority of service to the members of the community, where we respond to about 80% of our calls was within that corridor. And we had identified from the area of about AutoZone up to about where the courthouse is as that primary area where we see the majority of responses. This site gives us direct access to Highway 60, along with being within that corridor, and some additional features that go along with that. There's a stoplight located close by that can be of benefit. We partner with ADOT to work on some alerting systems to get where we can get traffic stopped in that. The site allows us, it doesn't sit within a floodplain, which creates issues for us in terms of emergency facilities. It does give us access from more than one point, so that we can safely access and not necessarily have to back all the time. The proposed design as the concept sits right now, it uses basically edge to edge of that existing property. Some of the challenges with there is it's not a large piece of property, so some of the design things that have to go into that is typically you have to build up, and I'll get into that a little bit with the floor plan. Parking, parking's always a challenge. The design that they put together here, it actually gives us a fair amount of parking. There's still going to be challenges, but we still identify 12 to 14 parking spaces that are available in and around the facility, whether in the front or to the rear of the building. Does anybody have any questions on site specific? So as far as a floor plan goes, and using the property that exists to the best of the ability to provide the facilities that are needed, there's a few things that go in to a modern fire facility that are extremely important. One of the things being, you always want to separate living and office spaces from your apparatus space. One of the biggest challenges we have right now is the facility that we're currently in. It has no means of controlling exhaust. So we don't have, in a modern facility, you're going to have some means of, whether that's directly hooking to the truck and the system that as you drive out, it unhooks, uncouples from the truck, but it sucks the exhaust out and manages that exhaust, or scrubbers that, that they put into facilities. But another design concept that's really important is they use kind of a concept like an airlock to keep exhaust out of the workspaces, out of the living spaces, so that we're not exposing firefighters to exhaust all the time. And that's a real challenge that we face right now is with the facility the way it exists. Any exhaust from those vehicles is typically, is going to go up into the dorm space, up into the office space, and it becomes pretty challenging to manage. We have to really make sure we're doing everything possible to prevent as much of that as we can, but we realize we're not going to, just the design we have right now is not going to facilitate making that an easy process. So that's one of the important features that we have here, is you have that airlock system that separates it. So as you exit, you have to go through 2 doors to get into living facilities, so you're not carrying those contaminants in with you. The facility, the apparatus bays as they exist here, allow for maintenance within the facility itself. If you go by any morning, particularly at shift change, by the fire station currently, you'll see we're parked out on the middle of the road, typically the cab of the truck lifted up, doing our maintenance checks, doing all that. We have to do that out in the roadway as things exist now, because we can't do that within the facility. This permits a lot of maintenance to be done within the facility itself. Another thing that goes along with the exhaust and managing that is the contaminants we bring in. When we respond to fires, we're wearing our turnout equipment. That turnout equipment gets contaminated. We go back, that turnout equipment sits in the apparatus bays where it gets exposed to exhaust. One of the major design concepts that goes into any modern fire station is we separate those facilities where we're storing that gear. We separate it from exhaust, number one. We also put it in a position where when it gives off gases, especially during the summer when things heat up a little bit, it starts to give off gas, some of those contaminants. It does it, in a modern facility, you put that in a negative pressure space where it vents all of that out. We have in place, thanks to the council's efforts and stuff, we have in place now the ability and to have all of our personnel with 2 sets of gear. So in the event that they do have a fire, they come back immediately, they swap out that gear, it gets bagged and sent to a decontamination process with a vendor that we've had a good relationship with. And we don't have downtime or lag time or concern about making sure we have that gear back in a timely manner. We can get it, if it's delayed slightly, we don't run into issues where personnel are having to borrow gear and that stuff, because we have that second set. But this, that's an important part of this. A lot of, if you look on the floor plan portion, that back square kind of, I'm looking at the upper left of my screen, that identifies service spaces where we have for storage, where we have for a breathing air compressor, a little workroom for us to work on breathing air. It's important that we maintain the equipment that we just spent a lot of money on through grant purchases, and those spaces give it to us. The office spaces, living spaces, another feature. The fire services is becoming more diverse stuff. Having separate living spaces for each of the personnel has become pretty much a standard across the board in most fire stations, where you see that some separation of living spaces. Any questions related to that? Yes.
Chief, the decontamination process, is that done off-site or on-site?
So we go through, typically what we do is we go through an on-site decontamination. So as they wrap up the operations, they'll go through a basic cleaning process. We have a product that we use that's helpful in eliminating contaminants on that gear to a degree. They'll decontaminate on site, take the gear off, put it on the truck, come back to the station. Currently as it exists, if you look at in here, there's a corner of the station back by where the turnout storage is in that upper left-hand corner of the screen, that's identified for a decontamination area. So that gear would typically come out. They could do some further decontamination, bag it, and prepare it for being sent out for a full the full cleaning process.
And what is the typical turnaround on sending it out and getting it back?
So the vendor we've been working with has been really good, because typically we've provided our own transportation with people coming back and forth from the valley. We provided our own transportation, and they've been pretty good about getting our gear back within 3 to 4 days. You know, with the second set, you know, we have some flexibility with that we haven't had in the past, and they were very good with us, but you know, it also tended to either come with a cost to either somebody traveling back and forth or that now we have, you know, now we're not hard pressed to get that gear back to us. This, a lot of stations will have what they call extractors in it for a more thorough cleaning, and it is an effective process, but the vendor that we're currently using, you know, when that gear goes down, that gear is not only cleaned, it's inspected, repairs are proposed, identified, and in most cases done, because it's, you know, it's very cost advantageous to have it done there, and it adds to the duration of the gear. So, you know, it works out very well to have them as a vendor for us for cleaning and maintaining that gear.
I do have a follow-up. In the Bay Area, are there plans, or is it even, maybe not required, but favorable that some below floor grade bays are implemented so that staff can actually, or mechanics can get underneath the units without any, jacking systems and things like that?
We do not, simply because it, you know, in a fire station, it tends to create a hazard that is not normally present unless you identify. I've been in a few stations where they have a service bay that they've identified, and they've put those facilities in specifically, but it's not a normal operational bay. Space-wise, I don't think there's any way to accommodate the needs of what we need in terms of apparatus parking versus the maintenance facility.
So any mechanical or maintenance would be done off-site?
Yeah. What it does incorporate typically, though, not any, you know, there's a lot of stuff that can be done within the facility itself. It's just if it required any kind of lifting or being under the truck for a duration, it may be more advantageous to do it to an off-site foot. The other thing that it does incorporate, though, as well is that we don't have currently is a drainage system. We're limited in what we have in drainage system, and the reality of any fire apparatus, no matter what, is you're carrying water, you're going to get drips, and having drainage that manages that, you know, one of the things I hear about more often than not is, you know, from personnel, is just having to manage all the water on the floor and keep it directed in the right place, and where we don't create slip hazards, and it is a challenge.
Fernando?
It's probably not part of the scope, but just a curiosity, will you be able to control that traffic light there at, what is that, 3rd Street or 4th Street?
There are systems in place that allow us to do that. You know, that has to be worked out with ADOT, you know, but they were very good to work with the current system that we have in place. that allows us to control these lights out here. Simply, it's an audible trigger. There's different triggering mechanisms that will have to be worked out with ADOT, but the answer is that is very possible.
And Chief, just a comment, it's good to see that these upgrades, that we're able to, build a modernized, fire station with the upgrades that are being, done all over the state, all over the nation, and in order to decrease the amount of cancer cases of firefighters, cancer death that have increased in the past, even the past 3 to 5 years have worsened. And it's good to see all these precautions. I think as a city, we need to look at, they may cost us a little more to put these precautions in there, but what's the cost of losing a firefighter to the city? What's the cost of somebody going through cancer treatment and stuff like that? So it's good, and I hope that all this works nationwide, that it works, that we are able to decrease those cases.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, totally agree. Our philosophy has been, going to work shouldn't put your life at risk. And if there's ways that we can reduce that risk so people can come and have a long career and live a healthy life afterwards, we need to take those measures and do the things, the separation of the buildings and keeping the turnouts, everything we can do. And that's why it's so important to do this fire station now. Because it is the current one we have. 100 years is pretty good life cycle, but it's time we get another one lined up, and we're on that path.
I agree completely, Mayor. If I could, I wholeheartedly support this. I mean, it's needed. It's been needed for quite some time now. But to see this and coming to actually conceptual ideas, and it's amazing to see that and a step forward for the city. I mean, especially we just had that Northeast study that we're wanting to expand the city. We need services that can get out and can do and keep people protected, not only our residents, but our fire staff as well. So.
When's groundbreaking?
Yeah. Not able to advance.
July 4th.
So, at the retreat, this is kind of the design concept that was put out there, just as a preliminary, based on some feedback that was there about, I won't mention from who, but there are, one of the things that was made clear is, this is a design concept that they can make alterations to, make changes to, in terms of how it presents, how it looks, how it integrates with the community and stuff. And based on some of the feedback that we got, not only did they update the floor plan concept, but they gave us some additional renderings and of what that could potentially look like, and I actually I would agree, they do. I think they came out great. They came out good. With the site location, still gives us the opportunity. It still gives us plenty of apron space in the front end, where vehicles can move in and out, coming off the highway if they had to. There is the doors as they exist. They're modern doors, heavy duty doors. That's one of the challenges we have where we're at currently is the doors. We're using simple garage doors. Although we're using heavier motors, it's they're a garage door. How what's the life on them, and how especially the motors, how many times was your garage door designed to open and close in a day, versus how many we're putting on that based on responses. As far as design and concepts, that's where we're at currently with WSM. They're the ones that have done the preliminary renderings on this. And then from there, I'll kind of let Jerry go into where we go from there, but there's also some work that he'll address on the site that's got to be done as well. Unless there's any other questions or comments from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor,
Mariano, go ahead.
it's been my experience in watching town of Payson and their growth and their new fire station. It's a number of years old, but it is a very busy place there on Main Street because the community, it appears, tends to use it a lot in terms of meeting rooms, using training rooms, and I would expect that to happen in this case as well. So it would behoove us to look at additional parking. And I know we're kicking that idea around, but the one in Payson is extremely busy. Community has bought into it. And so its use, besides a fire station, acts as a conference room and a meeting room for the community. So that's something to keep in mind as we go into the future.
And that is, that's something that that's kind of, I think, been discussed and looked at is, the conference room space that or the training room space that we identified in there is, right now, the idea is to not only have the training room space, but to have a conference room with a tractable wall that can add space to that for up to around 40, that could accommodate 40 people. There's also the potential in, as we look to update our emergency operations plan and the need for an EOC location to potentially incorporate some of those facilities for a city EOC into that.
That's all I have. Thank you.
So, one of the questions that we've gotten from the community is, why would you need so many amenities? Okay, why would you not? Yeah. I mean, that's a better question. I mean, if you're talking about public safety and you're talking about the people who put themselves in danger, I mean, you want a safe facility for them, and our current facility is not safe for that application. It does have a use. I mean, it's going to live beyond the fire department, and it does have a use, but it doesn't have a good use for the fire department at this point. With all the traffic in and out of that building, the building is constantly under repair.
Didn't we just have a fire in the bathroom? Was everything happened in the bathroom?
So we were just, it was a training. It was a training, and we got it right.
You got it right this time?
We got it right. So, it's fun to tease them about it. But it's an old building, and things like that happen to old buildings, and what we're doing right now is repairing that, because like I said, it does have a life beyond the fire department. And the other thing is, there's no way to expand that building without putting twice as much money in it. Shoring up the infrastructure to add more structure. You would have to completely build a steel skeleton in that building to do that. And I just wanted to shut that rumor down. There's no way to build on that building.
No way to build out.
There's no way to build out. There's no way to build up. There's nothing you can do to that building beyond what's been done to it right now, other than repurpose it for the city's use.
It was adequate when we were horse and buggy 100 years ago, but it's inadequate now in the 21st century.
Of all the people up there, I wouldn't have thought you would have went back 100 years. So,
well, I mean, we talked about our downtown being built when it was horse and buggy, and that's what we deal with. Yeah. But,
Well, and Mr. Mayor, members of council, I don't want to discount the fact that I believe that PD is measuring for curtains over there once fire pulls out. So they have their eye on.
They've already got their dibs on the property. Yeah. That's the next presentation.
yeah. So it's definitely an advantage having the fireman do the work over at the PD. He's got all the inside track check. But let me just move beyond this a little bit and let you know about the financing a little bit. The community facility loan, there's not a loan grant on this because there's no grant available through USDA. It's all loan, and the loan is at 2.5%. We were misinformed on that, Paul. Jeff sent me,
He told me 1.5.
it's 1.5 on the sewer infrastructure, it's 2.5 on
Oh,
this infrastructure.
Place.
So basically, instead of a PER, they look at a PAR, which is a preliminary architectural report. A little bit different because it's a building, and what they do is they take that architectural report and they assign a estimate to that, what it'll cost to build it. And so if you take the current 16,000 square foot building that they proposed and you put about 350, something like that to it, you're talking about probably 5.6 million to build that building. Yeah, like 5.6. And if you take that at 2.5 interest, you're talking right at 40,000 a month. So and so it's going to take some revenue to pay for that as well. So I think that everything I've looked at on this is on the fire station is complete as far as your environmental report and the architectural that was preliminary, but I know they're ready to go on that. We did get a rough price on demolition of the existing building, and the price we got didn't include the footers, which I would want those to come out as well because we're building a new building on that site. But the price we got was $68,000 and probably another $20,000 to get the footers out. So you're probably talking somewhere around 75, 80,000, somewhere in that area. And then that doesn't include the mitigation of the environmental issues. But luckily, there's not a whole lot in there. So would you say probably $15,000, $20,000, something like that, to mitigate the environmental, something like that? So probably 100,000 or less. We can actually apply. We can pay that up front and apply through this loan if we go USDA to pay for that as well. In other words, I've asked USDA if we do that work up front, can we, get reimbursed for it? And the answer is yes, but it's easier to get these loans if we put some skin in the game. So it's my thought that if we're going to do this, that we ought to at least do the demo from the city, and then be able to say, hey, we did this for you. We're going to do the survey work. We're going to do the utilities. We're actually going to put some skin in this game. So rather than just pay somebody to build it. So that's kind of my thought on it. So the other thing on this is, if we get into this building and say we think it's going to cost us $6 million, well, let me go a different direction first. First of all, equipment is acceptable on this loan too. So if we wanted to put the ladder truck, you said something about needing a ladder truck? Yeah. So if we wanted to put a ladder truck on this, we could add that 1.2 million, 1.3 million, whatever it is. But we could add that onto the loan, and that would be permissible as well. Okay, the one thing I did want to note that on a USDA loan, say that we thought the building was going to be $6 million and the ladder truck was going to be 1.5, so we borrowed 7.5 million, just say. And when we got to the very end, it was actually 8.5. Okay. This is unusual because we can go back to USDA and get the other million. So we can add that on as well. So it's unusual. And I talked to USDA about this yesterday because I was concerned about the steel prices and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
If we go through with all this, what happens if we overrun like hell? And they said that we can either apply for more money than what we need up front and then only pay back what we use, or we can or we could ask for what money we think we need, and then ask for more money if we need it. So you know, it might cost us $400 a square foot rather than $350, that kind of thing. Where this makes a little difference, if we borrowed more than what we needed and we only used it, it wouldn't penalize us. Where if we borrowed in the earlier one that I talked about with the sewer, if we borrowed, say, 8 million and we only used 6 million, and we got 25%, the first 2 million of it is loan, no matter whether we use 6 or not. So you see what I'm saying? So you only want to borrow what you need there, and then if you need to expand, you go beyond. But this one is a little different, where you could borrow and only pay back what you use. So, you know, I've looked at the preliminaries on this, and it's where we want to be, I think, isn't it? You
And
know,
Mr. Mayor,
the site's going to be tight, but you know, it's going to have the amenities and so forth that you need there to do your job safely, I believe.
just a couple quick questions, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Is there any room for value engineering on this project? How do we, because it's still pretty loose. Do you think is it going to
Well,
move in the other direction, or?
You know, I hate to say yes, because there's always room for value engineering, but we want to make sure it's safe value engineering.
Yes.
So we want to make sure we don't cut corners to save money.
No.
But
don't do that at all.
if something come up to where this was as good as that and it was going to cost us less money, we would definitely look at it. But you know, Gary would have final say on anything that gets changed in those plans, because I don't have to work with it, he does. Yeah, so
And what would the approximate timeline be?
for the USDA loan, by the time, and it's got another application about, like I showed you on the other one. So by the time we turned it in and got approved, you're probably talking 6 months,
That's not bad.
but it'll take a while. And just to address another thing that, I forget who asked the question, but Mayor, somebody asked a question about, you know, everything that's going on right now and with the money being available and so forth. Here's what the difference is. What makes it good for us is there's more money for programs. So like in Miami, when I asked for $22 million from USDA, or 23 million, I think it was, they put it in 5 phases because they only had so much per year to give out. It's a little different this year. They have a lot more money. And so those $2.5, $3 million projects could be as much as 10 or 12 million now. That's why, like I said, the sanitary is sitting in a pretty good spot right now as well. So from that standpoint, there's more money available, and so now's the time to strike. You know, we don't have to build half of it and then wait on the funding for the others.
Exactly.
Wow.
And
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a couple things I wanted to add on. I think also Local First Arizona can help us with this. That is one of their missions, is to help entities apply for money. They've done it before. They can do it again. We can do it ourselves, but if there's free help available, let's partner up. And that's recommended by USDA. I also know when we were talking with Bob Holmes, our lobbyist, about the energy grants and then the AFG grants. And so we're still chasing other money on this, and I don't know if that's going to lower the cost or just allow us to get more energy efficiency and some equipment with it. We're still trying to, you know, turn over every you know,
Every
look
stone.
for the, I'm trying to think of the right analogy. I'll stop. Anyway, we're trying to look for money everywhere. Okay, I was gonna go to the couch cushions, but I won't go there. The last thing is, I was gonna say, we also, Jeannie and I talked to Greg Schwartz, our bond counselor, and we ran this scenario by him as compared to what he offered in the private market, and he was very frank with us that what we're looking at is a better deal than we can get in the private sector. So we're always checking.
So in some of these programs that Paul talked about, we may not be able to get a lot of funding, but even a little funding to offset some of the costs of some of this apparatus and so forth that has to go in there, because remember, not all the apparatus we have, and I'm using the word apparatus like I know what I'm talking about, but the apparatus that we have in the current fire station will work in the new fire station, so we'll have to replace some of it as far as the in-house stuff.
A good example would be our breathing air compressor. Our current breathing air compressor that we use to generate air that we then put into the bottles that we wear. That breathing air compressor is sitting at about, if I'm not mistaken, 10 to 12 years old, I believe. You know, that would be something that with, for example, AFG funding, assistant to firefighters grant funding, that we got the new SCBA's with, you know, that in turn could be used as a funding mechanism to fund that portion of it potentially for the new facility. Those type of things are always and fairly common for entities to apply for.
And when you're building a new station, they're easier to get funding for too. So once they know you've committed to that, those funds are easier to apply for. So I think that covers everything that I had so far. Does council have questions?
Ready? Yes, thank you. What was the loan term? 30, 40 years?
It was 40 years in this. It's same as the other. USDA is 40 years.
Okay.
And there are technical assistance grants that you can apply for. And part of that could go towards the design costs for this building. So, you know, we're not going to give away money here. We're going to apply for every dime we can get. So, you know, let's see. Okay, and like I said, the loan repayment on $8 million over 40 years at 2.5 is somewhere around $26,000 a month.
So what was the 40 that you mentioned?
I did not read my notes.
That's better.
Okay.
I was correcting myself so Paul doesn't slap me later.
That was some
Mariano, go ahead.
Just a comment, a few weeks ago, I said there's tons of federal grant money out there and so many ways to go after it, but hearing the Jerry Barnes School of Finance version, I'm really pleased with this, Jerry. Don't stop, whatever you're doing.
There's a disclaimer in the waiver.
It has to be somewhere.
I learned what I learned about finance by watching Fernando clean up towns. He just does what he wants to do. Gets it clean, right, Fernando?
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just so you know, Jeannie's been thoroughly involved, and she's probably on there waiting to jump and get in at some point. But we're working hand in hand with finance department.
We're in the very early stages of this, but we're at the critical point where we need to start making decisions on which way we're going to go.
Yep.
And the first thing we have to do, what the council did last week, our last meeting, is approve the engineering firm for the PER to get started on. You know, we're going to have to do practically the same thing for here, is analyze what we need and make sure we get it ahead of time. And I think Gary's done a good job of getting all the architectural stuff done and the environment. So, and then John just chomping at the bit, right?
Right.
Mike, you had a question, comment?
You talked about demoing the old stations, doing something else, or what?
No,
Not the
Demoing
station,
the
the building.
Oh,
where
okay,
it was
yeah,
gonna-
yeah.
Don't demo the building.
No, we're not demoing that.
Okay.
We're going to put a restaurant over there.
And good luck finding somebody to run it.
I'm singing the parking. No, what I was talking about is the medical, yeah. The medical building has to be taken down, but because of the building that we're building, it can't just be knocked down and cut off at the ground. It has to have everything removed, including utilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're so sure about this that Gary's already made the thing for his desk, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe change the front of it.
We're just wondering what name to put on it. Any other questions?
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Good job.
Oh, just when you think you got rid of me.
So,
One more.
so we'll go to item C, and council will receive a progress update from staff on the community pool rehabilitation project.
We have, I thought I saw,
We have a
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
yeah.
Here we go.
Do you have that control? If you wanna,
I have a controller.
okay.
I just gotta figure out how to work it.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Linda's not available tonight to do this presentation, but, we have Jerry, we have Walt, we have, John in the room.
Did you wanna sit up here and act like a swan, or?
You're just on a roll, aren't you? I got the email from March 3rd when I told you you're doing a presentation to council, so just,
On the pool?
On
No,
the
you told
pool.
me that an hour ago.
no, this is on the fire station. Anyways, we'll talk later.
All right. Community pool. This isn't what it looks like. This is, not yet. But, I wanted to show you some pictures of what it could look like.
Jerry, 5 minutes.
This is Linda. I get 35 minutes.
Didn't bring the swan.
All right, so I don't have a whole lot here, Paul, seriously. So on this slide, I wanted to note the gates that actually close off the front there, and the space above the shower rooms. If you go out there, as the mayor did the other day, you can, it's huge. I mean, it's going to be a nice facility. And there's some obstacles that we're trying to overcome, but I believe this architect really knows what he's doing. So here's another view from the outside, kind of looking in at the pool. And you know, the one on the far end is mine. I'm just saying I've already laid claim on it. And but the furniture that could go around the pool, and you kind of see the event center in the background there. That's what you see where it's kind of a phase 2. We don't have that in this scope, but we do have it in the phase 2 scope.
But
And there's a
Mayor,
better,
members of council, Jerry, the amoeba roof will wrap around, but
It will.
closure.
it will. And you know, we're struggling with that because even the steel prices came in $100,000 above where we thought it was going to be. So you know, we're struggling with that, but I think there's some room there still. I think a lot of the pricing and so forth that we got from Structural at the very beginning had a lot of meat on it yet, so we're cutting those back. But I wanted to see this event center where we could actually set meetings up in there and banquets and so forth. But we won't have this built for the first to get it open. Just the roof that comes over it, like Paul said, and the structures. But we'll also have it designed, so when we get ready for phase 2, that we'll be able to buy that and put it up.
Fernando?
Jerry, now if I remember right, when I read the specs on this little event room is almost 2,500 square feet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Almost 2,500. Okay. This is the deck between the bathhouse and the pool. I think I overshot. Okay, so what I didn't see was the last slide with the
You had some slides in there that the
Yeah.
site plan.
I don't know what's going on.
There it is.
So the amoeba roof, this is kind of, this is one of my favorite pictures right here. It kind of shows you the roof and how the pool will lay out, along with the splash pad over to the side, the grass areas, and it shows the 2 slides. The third slide would actually be in the shallow end. It'd be a kiddie slide for little kids. And this actually shows you a concession stand off to the side, which isn't part of phase 1 as well. little better shot of some of the amenities in this.
I like that slide.
So where the concession stand is, the space will be there, but there'll be no building.
The space will be
structure.
there. We'll have to fence it to, as, you know, as if for a future build, but, I think that, that we've kind of given up on the concession stand to be there by the 4th of July. And, we'll probably put something up temporary for concessions and then build it after we open, so.
And then,
Go ahead, Fernando.
is it possible when you build that fence that we turn one of those into a gate so we could bring in like, one of those mobile food units or something if somebody wants to go in?
We believe that could be a possibility. It depends on what the powers to be tell us that they want there for a concession stand. I think one possibility is to build a slab and have a food truck or something work off of that for the first year. But
Pull in and then.
but I don't believe that we have to build a concession stand the first year, but I do think we have to tie in the utilities, at least stub them out, and pour the concrete pad. And whether we pour those, or put those utilities in a sub-floor box or however we bring those up, would be up to the contractor, but, we probably can't afford to do it through this contractor here. And, so I think that, like you said, if we could figure out a way to put the pad in this year, beyond the 4th of July, and then, work with tents and so forth until we get the pad in and bring a food truck in as well. I just, or food truck or somebody to do concessions. The other possibility is they do make those Connex concession stands that you could buy and put in there. Or, and then another possibility that we haven't discussed too much is, we could have a third party come in and do the concessions in there and make their money that way. Because the concession's not a big money maker.
No.
And, anyway, but this is a really nice slide and splash pad. I mean, think about this compared to what's out there.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's been a great process and everybody on the team has been working. We're working with our partners at the hospital, with Structural. Just out of curiosity, one of the challenges, if you remember that the kiddie pool was 2 foot higher than the floor of the bathhouse, and they had to deal with that. So what they ended up doing was they took the pool down 6 inches and brought the floor of the bathhouse up 18 inches, and then lifted the roof and put the amoeba on top of it, so you had the headroom. So they've been very creative in trying to get around some of these nuances, and it's working out well.
So, finance, what it means to the city.
Just
Yeah.
a quick question on the picture you had too. Now, the bulkhead that we've spec'd in there also, is that out of the way? It's on the deeper end, right? For competition swimming, that's where competition swimming is gonna take place?
It's, for competition, it's in the shallow end. And, it's a barrier, so it's only so many meters long, but during, regular use without, it'll be slid all the way to the deep end.
Okay.
All the way to the deep end. You would actually be diving over it or whatever, jumping over it. But it, it's like this way.
You could walk out on it.
I don't know that I'd want them walking out on it, but, guess it's not up to me.
Only if
But-
you're on the swim team.
That's true, I could be on the swim team.
We got the Lifeguard Applications, Jerry, available if you want to do some summer work.
You see me in a Speedo?
I can't.
All right, so, funding for this, excuse me?
You have that slide up, you had it up.
I did have a slide, but I lost my thing again. I think Shelley's messing with me, I'm not for sure.
No, it's Danny messing with you.
I don't know what I'm doing with this thing, I keep hitting the thing. Just take me to that slide, Dan. Next one.
That one.
That one. So, some of the partners that we have, the city through the ARPA funds, contingency, amount of $30,000, that was for the, change order for, demo and stuff that we did. more ARPA funds from the city, 180,000. 250,000 through the community investment grant. Gila County gave us 100,000 for right now as a placeholder, and they're hopefully going to give us more. United Fund gave us 200,000. Arizona Complete Health gave us 50. Capstone was at 100,000. BHP at 250, and Culver Valley Regional Medical Center has been a great partner at 1.9 million. They started at 1.5 and have come up because they wanted to see like the amoeba roof and so forth over it, and they've been great. And you know, construction wise, Neil and his team have been out there on site usually on a weekly basis, and we were out there on Monday, and they were had some testing people out there because something that happened is we went to set grade on the thing. The grades weren't completely right, and then we had a testing company come in. The compaction tests were off. So now it's we're at the time where the grade needs to be redone and the compaction effort up, and basically the vegetation needs to be removed, and there needs to be water put down as we compact because we never reach optimum moisture on it to get full compaction. So and they did it on a weekend. So anyway, so construction wise, it's kind of slow. We're patching the cracks in the pool, and we're prepping the infrastructure like the trenches and so forth for the piping and the electrical and so forth that goes in. Remember, we're going to put lights in the side of the pool now, and we had to actually cut holes in the side of the pool for those. And so those all had to be in it, plus the trenching for the electrical on the outside. So a lot of prep work. If you haven't been down there, you won't even recognize the site. You know, the zero entry has all been dug out. The only problem is that's part of the compaction that we still have to do. There was some discussion on, we hit some asphalt as we were digging, and what they thought was asphalt was not asphalt. The area where the pool is used to be where the city years and years and years ago, because the pool was built in '62, so it's even before that, was built built over an area where they did coal milk. He's waving a flag. I'm just not going to look that way. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with using it in the fill, and so once we determined that with the geotech company, we're off and running again. So that's kind of the delay that was out there, and now we're off and running again. So any questions on any of the funding or any of the process that we've done so far? No.
Are we on target to complete by July 4th?
You know, it's going to be tough to complete by July 4th, and it's not going to be the contractor's fault. It's going to be the material supplier's fault. And I believe that we can do it still, and they believe we can do it still. But just one thing go wrong, and we're thrown out. So you know.
And the other question I have, Jared, standing at the back of the pool area, the building on the right side, is that coming out?
No.
Where the crypt is?
No.
Nope. Okay. What is that building?
So John, it's a building where we did all of our maintenance.
Okay. Okay, so that'll stay inside the aquatic center proper, or
Yeah,
on the
well,
outside?
outside.
Okay.
But we also the pit area where we were going to take completely out, we decided to use it for the pump and to house for the splash pad, since rather than build another building. So they're getting very creative with what they're doing, trying to save some money out there. Any other questions?
Just one last comment, Jerry. I know we mentioned the hospital coming in late in the game, but we need to make sure that we recognize all the other stakeholders and contributors that are making this possible, mainly the mines and the county and all the organizations. We need to highlight all of them.
So this has been definitely a community effort, and it's great to see so many people. Even our utilities, APS and Southwest Gas, have come in and gone above and beyond, trying to help us get designs and things done by July 4th. So, you know, there's, my hat's off to all of them because everybody's working hard at this. So to answer your question, Mike, I hope so, because everybody's got a lot of effort in this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people waiting for it.
So do I have any more time, Paul? or-
No, you're about 20 minutes over.
That's the mayor's
10
call.
minutes.
Oh, yeah, you got the
10 minutes, you're okay.
So, they let me talk a long time when I had good news.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, anybody who'd like to take a trip out there, anytime during the week, just give us a heads up, because you do need a hard hat, vest, closed-toed shoes, and
No flip-flops.
they're real sticklers on it. What's that?
Not yet, July 4th.
Yeah, we found that out, didn't we, Mayor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll move to consent calendar, and matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. A, accounts payable, $548,102.14. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration to approve council minutes for March 8, 2022. Consideration of agreements and purchases of less than $25,000. And consideration of the city manager's approval of the American Legion extension of premises located at 645 South Broad Street, Globe, Arizona for March 19, 2022 for the car and motorcycle show and swap meet. Do we have anybody from the public, the staff, or the council wanting to remove any item for separate consideration?
I'd like to remove 4B, please. That's a consideration of agreements of purchases less than 25,000.
Okay.
And I would move to approve the rest of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have motion and second for approval of consent agenda minus item B. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. So we'll go to item B. Fernando?
Yes, I just had a question, because on the CDX, the contracting on the sidewalk in front of Holy Angels, wasn't the sidewalk in front of Holy Angels just recently completely redone?
John, you want to talk about that?
Councilman, to answer your question, it's actually just, it's on the side of it. It's not the sidewalk that was repaired with our our Broad Street project was actually in the front.
Okay, so this is on the.
Yes, yeah, this is on the side where they actually, where you see a lot of the funerals and a lot of the folks on the, where they have the parish hall.
Yeah.
That's area's been one of those areas that we've been wanting to work on for quite some time, so.
Okay,
It's actually taken care, and that's where they actually access for funerals and stuff and have that walkway.
well, when I looked at the address, it said Broad Street, so I was like, okay. Then I would move to approve item 4B.
Okay.
Motion and second for approval of 4B. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. We go to new business and item 5A, discussion and possible approval to advertise requests for statements of qualifications, RSOQ, for an on-call water, wastewater utility contracting to be funded out of account number 51-80-52200 wastewater capital outlay construction. Gary, back.
Mayor, council, did you miss me? So, and so you know, the flags, I'm colorblind, so. Okay, so this item is what we talked about for quite a while, is putting an on-call plumber on, basically. And we're gonna use contracts up to $300,000. And then, but every contract we bring with every candidate for this will come back to council. So if I have a $300 limit on XYZ contracting for plumbing, they won't get 300,000 unless we come back and show you what contract it is and have you vote on that. So basically, it's just like our surveyors. Every contract will come back to council. But It's what we asked for, so we can, not only do the common lines, we can do, water repair, we can do sewer repair, anything that we may not have the manpower to do. And, our CIP is currently at, is it 500,000 each? And so these contracts will be at 300,000. And you can't do hardly anything for 25,000, that's why. Yeah, so, but I'm asking that you waive the rule on this as well, because it's just an advertisement, it's not going out.
Because it's an advertisement, they'll be coming back, so you don't, no need to waive the rule because it will return to council.
So it's just direction is what you're saying? Okay, so, because we would like to advertise it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve staff's request to advertise for a request for statements of qualification for an on-call water, wastewater utility contracting to be funded out of account number 5180-80-52-200 wastewater capital outlay construction, and to bring back the contract award for final approval.
Second.
Motion and second for approval of item 5A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstaining? Any nays? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Very good.
Item B, discussion and consideration of resolution number 1854 that will update the fee schedule to include the community pool fees and applicable bank transaction fees. Shelley, can you read resolution 1854, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 1854, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Globe, Arizona, adopting a revised general fee schedule for the city of Globe. Council, please with the reading.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we needed to get the fees created for the pool. We have to charge an entry fee based on a day, a month, a year, and we need to get these going for us so we have them in time for July 4th. Walt, do you want to come up, Walt, put this together? Just talk briefly about the research you did, and then we'll go to the credit card. But you put this together, and we're going forward with it.
Walt Bratton, Professional Services Consultant. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. What I did is I looked at the Culver Valley Recreation Center swimming pool, because that's the only one in the neighboring area, which is peer review. I also looked at the town of Superior's user fees and charges, the town of Florence, as well as Apache Junction. And when I put these together, they're very closely mirroring the Culver Valley Recreation Center pool and some of the other aquatic centers, like I just mentioned, in Florence as well. But with only one other pool in the area, that being the CVRC, I wanted it to be as close as possible for the admissions for the swimming pool. Yeah, they're much smaller, much older. Ours is going to be brand new, crown jewel of the community. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, but that was my approach.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple key things. We're not discerning between a resident of Globe and somebody outside of the city of Globe, because it is it's a community project. It's funded by the community, and so we're not drawing that distinction between a city resident and a regional resident. And so that's really important to know. And we're not going to pay the bills with the fees, but it is important to have we're going to take that money, invest it back into the project. It will not pay for the full operation, but I think it's important that people contribute some to the use of that, and it'll help cover some improvements. We also have the fee for the use of renting the whole facility. During the summer, that will require lifeguards to be there. During the winter, there'll still have to have some staffing there. John's people have to get ready and everything like that. So those fees are an attempt to reflect the costs that we will need, even if they are going to use it. That we need to get ready for it. We have a cleaning deposit afterwards, and then staff during that time. But we expect it to be a very popular place, both during the summer and during the winter. It'd be a wonderful place to use the grass and even if it's too cold to go in.
Ready, go ahead.
So with that concept of the community pool facilities rental, would that mean that the pool would be completely closed off to that rental party, or are there gonna be a general public allowed as well during that time?
Well, at the bottom of page 126 of 209 in your packet, that's what I think you're going off of, where it says community pool facility rental. That would be the rental if they were gonna use the water, the pool. The next one where it says non-pool facility rental at page 127, that's an opportunity for them to use the facility but not use the water in case they wanted to have a function at the pool.
But Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilor Rios, if they do opt for using the water, it would be solely at their, to them, and public would not be allowed in. And we'll have to come up with hours of operation that are available for rental and hours that are not.
Right.
Because we're not gonna, you know, hold back the public, you know, Saturday afternoon, so somebody else can come in and, it's just, we'll have to work that details. But the fee structure, that you're seeing a little cart before the horse, the policies are coming up. We had to get this fee structure going, on this. And, what was the other thing? There'll be other groups, I'm sure the schools, the piranhas, maybe some of the other sports organizations where we'll do an IGA of some sort. And that would be handled, the fees would be handled through that method. But I believe the hospital is said they're the first ones that want to come and have a big barbecue there, and so they would be one of the people that would utilize that fee structure.
Okay, thank you.
Boy, I hope they get a freebie after they put in $1.9 million.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, members of council. And
That's something we'll have to discuss.
I just want to make this point. Through this whole process of working with the hospital, I was always expecting or waiting for that. I thought that might be that, you know, they have never, well, other than you, they have never even hinted that they wanted anything back from us or any special consideration other than to have a beautiful project that they can be proud of also. And so they get full price.
Well, I do have a question on the competition pool only. So is that pretty standard? They charge $100 an hour for the competition for practices and competition in other facilities?
Yeah, they do. Apache Junction, town of Florence does that.
Florence does that. How about Superior or other smaller facilities?
Doesn't have.
They don't have competition?
Yeah, no, it's more of a leisure pool. That was just for the body of water at the town of Florence, as well as, there's two bodies of water at the Apache Junction pool as well. Yeah, they do.
Okay. So even for practice is $100 per hour?
Yes, but that can also be part of the intergovernmental agreement, a memorandum of understanding with the local swim club.
Okay.
I know that, both of them probably do that for their local swim clubs.
Okay. Okay.
You never know when you have a visiting swim club that wants to help, you know. So, like I say, we're trying to predict the future because it's such a lead time. But I'm sure that we'll be talking IGAs with some of our organizations.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Fernando.
My logic isn't working out here. I just don't, it seems to me like if you want to incentivize people to do a pass, then the daily rate should be a little higher and the pass should be kind of a discount. Cause I don't see anybody using the pool 20 times a month, even if they buy a pass. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking it would make more sense to me if like the daily fee was $3. Now I would lean towards maybe doing a pass because I'd like to come. You see what I'm saying? It's just, I'm not sure the pass, anybody would use the pass because you'd have to use it 20 times in 1 month.
Okay, so the monthly pass category and then the,
Right, the
pass
daily,
category?
to me, the daily fee seems too low. $1, you can't even hardly, I don't even think you can buy a soda for $1. And so it seems to me like that should probably be closer to $2, maybe $3 to get in. And then maybe have, like for like the youth club or something like that, we could work something out where, because I know that's, we sponsor them so that they can have, kids can be taken care of. But otherwise.
Well, there's two options with that. One, you could pass it tonight, and then part of every fiscal year with the budget workshops and the budget process, you review the user fees and charges packet as part of the planning for the next fiscal year. Because this should be review definitely next spring because we're in uncharted territory right now. Or you could, make a recommendation and it could be changed this evening.
Mr. Mayor, Members of Council, I'd love to hear from the rest of the council where they're at on raising the $1 or the $2 or bringing down the month. I mean, to the point of trying to drive people to the monthly, we could bring down the monthly cost.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, as opposed to, I see the logic in not having them as separated, but I think our recommendation is $1 for seniors and youth and $2 for adults.
Mike, go ahead.
I was kind of looking at the monthly pass fees, and I thought if we reduce them there, we might sell more. And you know, $1 a day, the kid might come 10 days, and that's $10. But if he comes 10 days and we charge him $30, then, you know, he would look at maybe the monthly, they would look at the monthly and say, well, if that's at a reduced cost, monthly might be, I think on daily, we have to be careful because, you know, $1 a day for 20 days is $20, you know, or, you know, $2 a day adds up to, you know, $40, you know. So, and maybe it reduce the monthly rate and we'll get more people to buy into the monthly rate and just come in and use it. Whether they use it 10 days or 30 days or whatever, they're getting a little bit better bargain, I would think. I don't know. That's just a suggestion.
I think it's fine where it's at. I own a pass to the zoo, to San Diego, SeaWorld, to all these different amenities. Am I going every day? No, but rather than the hassle of having to get the money, go to the ticket, or just giving a pass and saying, here it is, that's what I'm paying for, is that not having that hassle. And so, but putting in where I need to put in.
Mr. Mayor, Members of Council, may I recommend for the monthly pass for age 0 to 17, we would go $12 for the month, 24 for 18 to 54, 12 for seniors, and maybe 30 for the family pass. And then take it about a third down. So 12 for a month for kids, 24 for adults, 12 a month for seniors, and you want to get the whole family, $30 will get everybody in.
I have a question, if I could. Is this what everybody's doing that has a splash pad 0 to 17 versus 0 to 5 charging certain fee because they're pretty much just going to be in the splash pad, not inside the pool or going down the slide or?
Splash pad's free. The age bracket and the breakdown, I wanted to mirror CVRC. So whatever their age bracket was, be what the City of Globe pool was.
The splash
it's
pad
apples
is
to apples.
free, but how do you differentiate if you're saying 0 to 17 pays $1
For the pool.
Okay, but
The
don't they
splash pad,
come in the same
Yeah.
place?
no, the splash pad's outside of the pool. And this is admission fees to get into the pool. The splash pad's free because you can come from the exterior,
Okay,
yeah, from the park or the parking lot.
okay.
You can't access.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just, I thought there was a gate that went in between. I thought that's the way I talked about.
There is a gate between the splash pad and the pool. So if people want to wander in and just play in the splash pad, you know, they don't have to go through, they don't get the wristbands, everything like that. They just go in there, play, and then run back and get money again. So, and that was, I mean, that came from council, to have that separation. And that way, couple benefits, that way we can keep the splash pad open longer. And if we're, you know, let's say we have a, you know, we staffing or the day that school starts and we can't get it open, at least we can always have the splash pad open.
Okay.
So, not dependent on the full functioning of the pool.
Mariano?
So what is the cost, for example, for the Piranha Swim Club? I see you have that for exclusive rental. Is that what they're gonna be paying?
That'll come in an MOU or an
Now,
IGA.
that we would.
That's an
with
MOU,
our local-
okay.
With our local group,
Thank you.
we'd have to, and one of the things we would do is get it, they're not scheduled for this year because they had to lay their schedule out.
yeah.
We'll have plenty of time to figure out our costs, to figure out what, you know, how many people we really need to run a team and everything like that, and then come to council, hash that out. There's a public value in supporting our own piranhas. They'll be bringing other people up here.
Okay.
But for, let's say, you know, some swim team from somewhere else and their bus breaks down and they love Globe and they want to stay and swim, you know, we have a price on the books.
Mayor, what are the hours of operation? I haven't noticed that anywhere.
That's gonna be depending on how much staff we're able to secure.
The go optimal, what we're
Yeah.
shooting for.
What we're
and
shooting
we
for
staff Go ahead
would
and
be,
share that.
schools out would be 1 to 7, Monday through Friday, 1 to 6, Monday through Friday. Same thing on the weekends when school's out. When school's in session, it would be probably 4 to 6, in May, and then up to when school's out, and then August and September.
So we wouldn't open until after lunch then, basically.
But then in the morning, you could have, collaborators, partners, the hospital, adult lap swim, physical therapy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be the morning.
Because
time.
that's what we used to do. Piranha started like at 8 in the morning. Yeah, and they were done by 9. And then, of course, the meets were in the morning. We were usually done by 10 or 11. We tried to be.
Now, when they have a meet, do the competing teams have to pay a fee to?
Well, I don't think we ever paid a fee to use it was kind of the pool was for a community purpose and it was, you know, to help our local kids. So I don't remember us ever.
Yeah,
paying.
No, but if the out-of-town teams that come, do they pay a fee to utilize,
No, because
to
we use their
participate?
pools and we don't
Okay.
pay them.
No,
so.
no, that's good, that's fine. Yeah, they just split it off, that's good.
But they do bring people to the community. So if we had a regional meet, we'd have
Oh, yeah.
5 teams show up. It would be a big
Yeah,
deal.
hundreds of people come in, yeah.
They spend money.
You know, on the daily cost, I like it to be kept, you know, at a lower end for the youth and the seniors, and maybe bring down the monthly to encourage them to go to monthly. But, you know, if you got a family, your family comes in from out of town and you got 7, 8 kids that you're gonna take, you know, the $1 a day is pretty nice to take them for the day, so.
I think I think first year we're doing this, everybody wants to explore it. Everybody wants to try it out at least once. I think, you know, it's a little bit to get in to cover the basic costs, and I think we'll get a good feel. The best thing that can happen is that the more people who go there at least once, the more that they'll come back.
Ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are, you know, again, we're gonna have probably 2 or 3 bites at the apple on this, as time goes on. You know, the study has been done where this puts us in the same arena as, Florence and some of the surrounding areas. I thought $1, $2 seemed a little light, but, I'm in a position that I think we should just go with this right now. See how it lays out, and then we have, like I said, we're gonna have a couple, 3 bites at the apple on this one. We can really dial in what's gonna be best for the community. You know, keep in mind, we're not going to make money on this. You know, we're gonna continue to absorb the O&Ms. But we also have to consider that, you know, bringing in some revenues is going to help maintain, or however this council or not previous, but the future councils decide how they want to use that money. But it's got to go back into the pool, because a pool is going to always require maintenance and care and chemicals and all that. So I'm in a position where I think we just stay right here at this point and see how it plays out.
Yeah, good job with it. And this is only a first read, so we're not proving this tonight. We're just passing it on to the next meeting for the pool. I would like the time to even review it more, I thought.
Right, but we do need to get this, like say, we want to get a number and get it rolling, but it will have to come back.
Okay.
Any comments from the public on this?
We'll have that opportunity on May the 24th. We'll have a public hearing. Tonight, we're asking council to approve the notice of intent so that we can post that on our website for 60 days. But we do have to have a fee schedule available for public inspection, and so it's important to present that to council.
So we had a discussion about reducing the monthly rate. Are we in agreement of that, or Fred, you just wanna leave them like they are?
I'm gonna bring it back.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna mention it.
I do have one question.
Go ahead, sir.
So on the passes, whether it's monthly or family, how is that determined that, you know, that pass is for a specific person? So say I got a friend. I'm not going to pull it in here, you go. And then he just gives them the pass, right? I mean, what's to keep that, or does it?
Hopefully it doesn't. But we will get to that when we get to the opening, and we'd have that with the POS system. You know, you can take a picture of the adult with the names underneath for the minors, and then that way they're approved. You could ask for, if it was me, the big brother, and I was in 8th grade and I had an ID and I was coming in with my 2 brothers, then you could ask for that as well when you're going through the turnstile. There's several ways to do that, but we haven't really got to that spot yet. And hopefully we won't, but if we do, we'll.
There's ways to mitigate that.
Yes, yes, sir.
Take pictures with me when I go with my pass first time. And then when you go the second time, your picture pops up and that's you.
Okay, all right. I was just trying to think how, you know, how the rates work versus the past.
There's a lot to think about, and we're churning through this. Just a quick plug, we are now able to take applications, or Jay Lynn is taking applications for lifeguards. We need to hire 40 to cover the whole season, and 40, yeah. They won't, you know, you're gonna have some turnover.
Are we gonna
And
offer the class at our pool then for the lifeguard training, or?
yes, we're doing the lifeguard training at the other pool.
We have 3 lifeguard trainings at the Culver Valley Recreation Center pool scheduled, 1 in May and 2 the last week of June. And then I just did a 4th one for the last week of July. Option A would be our pool, option B would be at the Culver Valley Recreation Center pool.
If you would like, we can bring we want to keep doing these presentations, so I think the lifeguard and recruiting, that would be a good topic for a future presentation the next time we talk about this, because there's a lot there, and we're teaming up and hiring from the same people, and so the lifeguards could actually go back and forth. They could work for us one week, work for the Freeport pool, and that simplifies us. We're not fighting for the same
Lifeguard have to be
Kind of a.
how old does the lifeguard have to be?
15.
15? Oh, that's good. I got it at 16.
Before we move on to the next fee presentation, Mike had a good point. Are we keeping it like it is as we move it forward, or, because we didn't really,
If you want to adjust it now, so whatever you decide tonight is what we'll put up and the public will see and comment on. So do you want them to comment on the high fee or the lower fee? Is that correct, Shelley? Yeah. So it's where do you want to, where's your baseline? If we get very little feedback and everybody's excited, I think we start with what you would prefer and then see where the public goes.
I think just by the comments, the majority was to keep it at the $1 a day, but I don't know, we had a discussion about the monthly.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I would recommend we keep the $1, $2 a day. I think if there's any adjustments there that are I think that staff can go either way, is lowering the monthly pass to try to encourage the monthly pass. And then we would talk about a 12, 24, 12, 30, if you wanted to do that. So the question on the table of the council, do you want to keep it as presented, or do you want to modify the monthly to the numbers that we're sharing?
12, 24, 20, and what?
12, 24, 12, and 30.
Well, my thought is, if, I don't know, I could be off, and maybe you can answer this, but if we're gonna modify the monthly, I think the annual has to be modified in conjunction with that. Cause now you're gonna show a gap from monthly to annual.
I think we just leave it. And then we would come back and adjust it again if we need to.
The beauty of these numbers is they're consistent with our partners, and what's the market rate based what Freeport's doing. And so, and if somebody says that, you know.
Okay, yeah, that'll work.
Okay. And just for the record, we are bringing another fee grouping together to complete by December. So there'll be another opportunity even that early to make this change. So in the motion, we'll keep it as is. Just quick, Shelley, do you want to explain? Yeah. Oh, you might.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before Jeannie gets on Zoom and explains the applicable fees that we're adding to our fee schedule, I wanted to bring your attention to the addendum that's on your desk. I misunderstood the direction as far as the credit card transaction fees. They're only going to be applicable to the building and zoning permits, and the notice of intent and fee schedule that was put in your packet didn't reflect that. So this is a correction.
Yeah, which one are we, okay.
Yeah, and the yellow is the correction to refer to the building and zoning fees. And Jeannie's online.
Page number?
Right here. That's it. It's saying right here.
Oh, the
And
first page?
then, yeah, and then it's on page 3 on the very top.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the
Yeah, on
highlighted.
the very top.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and I think Jeannie is on line to answer any questions as to why we're charging only building and zoning fees.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Jeannie, go ahead.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Jeannie, go ahead and explain why we're making this change of charging the credit card fees on this fee schedule adjustment, the reason for it, and then the research you did.
Okay, so in our continuing effort to make City of Globe business friendly, we were thinking, in the past, the city has not allowed credit card payments to be used for permits. And, we've had some companies that wanted to use them, but it was not part of the policy. So, this is just a change, since we're amending the fee schedule anyway. This is just an opportunity for people who want to pay for a permit with a credit card or a debit card. We would need to pass those fees on that we receive to them. And, there's no City of Grove administration fees in here at all. It would just be passing on the cost, excuse me, that the city gets from the credit card company.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, the thought before was you can get building permit fees on a new build like the hospital and possibly other buildings, fees in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. If somebody was to do a credit card for a $30,000 bill from the city, Jeannie, how much would we be charged as for that $30,000 bill?
Well, and that's where it gets super complicated. Potentially 3%, which would be $900. The city would get charged for on a credit card transaction. There are so very, very many credit cards out there, and prices vary for every type. You know, be it Visa, be it corporate, be it commercial, whatever. So that's why our language says that those permits purchased with credit cards or debit cards would be subject to applicable bank fees. Just passing on whatever the city gets charged.
And then Jeannie, we're limiting it to permits for building and zoning, and not doing water payments, right? What the thought process there?
Yes, my understanding was it was just to be for permits.
Not 3.25.
What's that?
Not to exceed 3.25%.
Right. That would be the most that we would be able to charge them. Hopefully the bank's not going to charge us, but it's going to float. We're not going to charge 3.25 if they're only paying 3.11 or something like that. We're going to give them the rate. But for the legal requirement, we have to put a cap in there of what we legally could. And I would hope somebody coming to pay a $30,000 permit fee, seeing that they may have to pay up to 3 point, will go get a cashier's check or find another way to do it. But we were always fearful, and I didn't think it's a legitimate fear to have that we might get stuck with a big bill. But I think the inconvenience and being, as Jeannie said, being business friendly, it's important that we, on those smaller ones, I mean, I've seen people, that without a credit card for $100 fee, and we won't take that. So this allows some flexibility for the,
Can't just be added on to the bill, so if somebody came in and it was 30,000, we couldn't say, okay, this is 30,000. Your transaction fee 900, so that's gonna be $30,900, and that's what we're running the card for, and then it just is a wash at that point.
That's a good question, Jesse. My understanding of the way it'll work is once, we get this passed, it takes, express bill pay is the people that we use. It takes 60 to 90 days for them to get approval from the various credit card companies. And then they have a way that their software integrates with our accounting software, since that's what we use. So they have a way, once everybody's agreed to it, they can go in and set up, you know, Visa, corporate, whatever, and the percentage. So that when the credit card cost is actually presented to the customer, it will include that fee.
Okay.
So it,
Like when you go to a fast food restaurant or anywhere, that includes the fee.
so Jeannie, so if the cost is less to us as far as the transaction fee, then we're not in it to make money. We're just gonna pass on whatever.
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
It's strictly passing on the cost that comes to us.
okay. Thank you, Jeannie.
You know,
Any other questions or comment? A long question. Do we have a motion then, I guess, for both fee schedules?
Mayor, if there's no other comment or question, I move to approve the first reading of Resolution 1854 and direct staff to post the notice of intention to amend the fee schedule to the webpage for 60 days and bring back to May 24, 2022 for the public hearing and possible approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for approval as read. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. That was a long one. We're moving. Item C, discussion and consideration of a text amendment to the city tax code for a proposed increase of up to 1% in sales tax excluding retail food for home consumption, and direction from council to post the required notice of intention advertising for a public hearing on May 24th, 2022. Shelley, can you read ordinance number 880?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Ordinance number 880. An ordinance of the City of Globe, Arizona relating to the privilege license tax, amending the city code tax by increasing the rate of taxation from 2 3/2% to 3 3/2%, providing penalties for the violation thereof, providing the severability, and the designating of an effective date. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we've had discussions, throughout the past 3 to 6 months. We talked about the strategic action plan. If you want to hit the first slide, I just want to express or share with council and the community where council is requesting that we go and put this before you for your decision. Today in Globe, the city of Globe has provided quality municipal services for the past 6 years. Great times of change, not only here in Arizona and Globe, the U.S. We've been able to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities with capital funding. Talked a lot of those tonight. But we are always short on that operational side. The capital money is a one-time cost. Operational is the day-to-day operations. To maximize these benefits that we're getting on the capital side, Globe must resolve our significant structural deficit that I'm about to describe. The next slide. Operational costs of the city have expanded compared to 30 years ago, and this is what we know to be true. As I described, you'll realize this. Fire and Mayor, I know you know this. The ability for municipal fire departments to save lives and are getting more and more significant, but those not without the cost of equipment, training, investments there. Though it is more expensive to run a fire department now than it was before. We know more on how to make firemen's work environment safer, but those cost money. Police now wear vests and carry tasers, body cams, Narcan, and they save lives with Narcan. They literally, month after month, they save people's lives by cell phones, laptops, ARs, as well as the traditional handgun radio vehicle. When I started here, they did not have laptops in the vehicle. They did not have cell phones. They did not have body cams. And vests are required. But after from 30 years, it's a lot different. We got rid of the billy club. All staff require training. The more training that you can provide, the more professional, the more effective and efficient your staff is. We face new social challenges. The one I was thinking when I talked about this, the opioid epidemic. It used to be drugs only, drugs that are abused came from the street, and now they're coming from the pharmacies. And we've seen the results. We've seen the lawsuits. That's something that we're still paying the price on that. And there's many things in society that things are not as simple as they used to be. We face increased costs from regulations. There's the unfunded mandate, the things we have to do, and environmental requirements, in submitting documents and making sure the paperwork is done and we are well regulated. We have that we are in compliance. We have healthcare and retirement costs have ballooned. PSPRS, which we had 2008, it dove and then it came back up. We have that deficit in both of those, PSPRS, ASRS, and we've adopted a culture of full compliance. The City of Globe does not take shortcuts. We do what we need to do, and we document what we need to document, and we do it right and professionally as best we can. And so in this complicated world, it's more complicated to run a city. And so it's not that things are more expensive, it's that the scope of what it takes to deliver quality municipal services is more comprehensive and more expanded. Next slide. And stop me if you have any questions. Residents expect more services. Residents of Globe, they expect and receive emergency police and fire service equal to that of those in the valley. They expect and receive reliable water and sewer. Both those have been ongoing improvements. Reliable water and sewer. We've always had clean water and sewers that have operated, but we've had some leaks and we've had some outages, and so US 60 repairs. We're doing better at making sure that it's reliable. Desire additional roads and sidewalks. A lot of room to go there. That's why we're looking at one of the sidewalk projects for an earmark from Congress. And they're now accustomed to our improved quality of life and access to recreational facilities. The residents of Globe and the region like how many parks we have, and they like the upcoming recreational facilities, the pool. They like that we're more involved in not just providing those narrow basic services, but quality of life services. Next slide. More people consume city services, and this is something that was pointed out that we have a 2020 Globe population 7,000. We'll go back. 249. We're down about 125 from the last estimate. We know we have 32,000 vehicles of visitors and travelers pass through the Globe, consisting of, and that's the 32,000 is the count on the road. We see ourselves as having a service population, the people that are in the city at any various time, that may have a medical emergency, may have a roadside emergency, may have a crime that they need to have addressed. These people who we must serve in addition to the residents of Globe, tourists, travelers, sports and recreation seekers, employees and contractors of the mining community, very important to us, but the mining community operates outside our jurisdiction, but they're here for lunch, they're here for the shutdowns, they're here for coming to and from work, and the acid trucks, the you know, all of the peripheral and secondary activity for those mines, we have to support that. And then the shoppers, we are the regional shopping center for, of course, Globe, Miami, or Miami, Claypool, from the canyon areas come in, San Carlos travels in, Wheatfields, even top of the world, and then the county areas, they come in to shop here, and hopefully they have a good shopping experience and don't need services, but we need to be able to handle to respond to them. Globe's service population is 4 times larger than the city's population. We estimate, police would tell you it might be a little bit more, but we're conservatively thinking we're about 30,000 is who we serve. Next slide. And so Globe must provide services to all. We welcome our visitors and travelers, the people who pass through, the people who stay for a while, even if they're just coming from Miami or coming from, you know, Connecticut. We're happy. We have a Rotary person that comes in from upstate New York and spends the winter here that I am aware of. But they provide wear and tear on the roads and infrastructure. They provide, or they require, and we serve them with police protection as they travel and shop, fire and police response to any medical or accident or crime. And then they're staying in our hotels and our restaurants, and we support them as they consume and you know, enjoy the things that Globe has to offer, our wonderful lifestyle and business community. But we receive no additional state shared revenues, no additional property tax from those visitors and travelers. And so we're providing services to the 30,000, but the only way they really contribute back in is through sales tax. Next slide. The challenge, user pays. The idea in city government is if there's an additional burden, that person who creates the burden should help pay that cost. And you see that a lot of housing development. If you're going to bring a bunch of people in, you have to make sure that they're contributing. But we have these people from outside coming in. So the question is, how do we hold the visitors and the travelers to Globe accountable for the cost of services they consume? The answer, by putting in place an appropriate and proportional sales tax levy so visitors and travelers pay their fair share. This is very important, and we're trying to balance this so that we can make sure that we can provide the services to all. Go ahead. In looking at the labor price index and looking at census numbers and how these break down, and looking at our how we pay our taxes and how we collect our taxes and the percentage of categories, we were able to determine that 73% of the city sales tax is paid by the visitors and travelers to Globe. We did a simple calculation of figuring out, based on our population and income of the residents, projecting what they would pay, and you subtract that out from the tax we collect, and for every dollar we collect from the city, from a resident in the city, we collect between 3 and 4 from visitors. So we see that they are the largest. That is the way they help the city. That is why they repay us for the services we provide. So just to look at this, so like I say, for a dollar, if taxes were to go up, if you were to raise sales tax, it would put a 1% on residents, but that resident can be satisfied, or at least be comforted to know that while I'm paying $1, we're gonna get, the city's gonna get 3 additional dollars that will come in through this tax, and that will go to benefit everybody. But it will be benefiting within the city. So it's a way to have those out, the visitors and travelers help support those needs.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Fernando.
Am I wrong to believe that food that you purchase at a grocery store is not taxed?
The food that is purchased at a grocery store is taxed. Food for home consumption. If the proposal here, the way it's laid out, is we're not going to modify food for home consumption, because yes, very observant that one area, the majority, it's not everything, but I would say we're about 65% of the food for home consumption is paid by residents. And that's why in this effort to help support the community and the visitors and travelers, we're not changing the tax rate at food for home consumption. It's taxed at 2.3 now. We will leave it there. Okay. Now, anyways, I'll move on. Go ahead. So to reduce the residents' burden, city will not apply the 1% increase to food for home consumption. And this is something I probably haven't talked to you closely about, but I would ask that we have not asked for an increase in property tax in the 6 years we've been here. Property tax is an arcane structure. It definitely hits. It is for the residents and the property owners of Globe. It is not the best way to handle growth and the tourists and the visitors. It was what we were originally looking at for a fire station, and the increase we'd have to do on property tax at fire station, it just is insurmountable. And so I believe that if we're going to go, if council chooses to go with a 1% sales tax increase, that you continue what you've done for the past 6 years now, and set and make a commitment that we leave property taxes alone. I would not ask you to 5 years out, who knows what's going to happen, but I think 5 years is safe to say that we should, ask council to make a commitment to leave property taxes as they are. And now what that means is we will always adjust, because property taxes are complicated. We have a approved levy. If we go above our approved levy, then we have to go to truth in taxation, and that is truly when you raise property taxes. Now, if the valuations go down in the city, I doubt that they will, but the valuations go down in the city, then you raise the rate to capture the levy. So now if the valuations go up, the rate will come down, and I believe that's what we'll see. But that is not, this is I would say that we modify one area of our tax code at a time, see what the results are, see how it benefits. I think this is a fairer way to make to close these gaps and achieve what council wants to achieve. And I would ask you to consider that as part of this, when we finalize this, that we make that commitment to leave property tax as is, at least not go over the levy. Increase the cost to the average Globe resident will be less than $130 per household, or $55 per person. I think we're at 2.36 is the average household population. And that's from the U.S. Census. That works out to about $11 a month per household, about $5 a month per resident. And I have some additional numbers on this. You want to hit the next. So this shows we took the numbers up. So the 2019 census says our median income 49,954, and that's where we got for the household annually. We project $127 is what this increase would cost you from the 2.3 to the 3.3. If we did a full penny, that would be the burden on the household, and then and you see the monthly numbers. We went up 25% to 62,000, and then we went down to 37,000. Although we adjusted a little bit differently, because as you go down in income, there's a floor that you're going to have to buy so many. 3 people, are going to have to buy so much food and so much gas and those kind of things. But as you go up, your consumption changes. But I think just so we can, as a gauge for people to look at this and see, well, how would I be affected? This is what we would look at, and that's the type of numbers. I would say if we were at 100,000, we would be higher, but it wouldn't be just double of the 50,000. It would be a little bit less. But I think for starters, we're going to use these. Go ahead. Benefit to businesses. Businesses do not pay sales tax. It's a common misconception. Businesses collect sales tax on behalf of the entities. In Arizona, it would be the state, the county, and the city of Globe. Okay. Now businesses, they're doing this job anyway. It changes the rate. The bottom line on the product, out the door costs are going to be a little bit higher, but it's not. It's something that they pass on the consumer, and the consumers who we're concerned about. But it does benefit the businesses in the global will benefit through, the businesses in Globe will benefit through enhanced municipal services such as, we've already seen reduced crime and increased fire protection. When I was first here, you remember the summer of burglaries we had in our residence. Now we've had a hiccup. I know, but we kept locking them up and they kept releasing them. We got that fixed. So, well, okay. So I will tell you that we've solved the problem that when we take them into jail, they will keep them now. So, and on certain instances, I won't go into details. Okay. You do remember, yeah, but if I recall,
Moving on.
okay, moving on. And when we saw the Miami fire, we went and took extra efforts to make sure that we didn't have that repeat situation in Miami, where we had 3 to 5 buildings go up there. It's a very important piece that we do because of the nature of the city and the closeness of the buildings. Better roads and infrastructure. Everybody looks down Broad Street and you see clean, fresh asphalt. And then we have the marketing efforts. The presentation from New Times was so impressive. The events like First Friday. So these businesses, we will reinvest this into the city, and they will see those outcomes there. We are partners in making the city prosperous. Next slide. Okay. How do we compare to other cities and towns our size? So where are we at in the big picture compared to others? Larger cities and towns who are border to border tend to have lower sales tax and higher property tax. It's just the nature of the beast. There's economic dynamics that go into that. But when you have a rural city that tends to be out on their own, we are a local hub. You tend to have a higher sales tax to capture that money, that outside money, and that is what we're catching up to. We were at 2.3. We were in the lower third of all cities in sales tax. If we go to 3.3, we'll be towards the upper third, but we'll be in good company in that. So all cities about 2.75. Cities of our size, 5,000, 10,000, average about 3.2. Rural travel destinations average about 3.18. And if you go, we'll show some charts. You can see what cities we're comparing to. So this is a list of the cities that are in that 5 to 10,000, and the average at 3.02. These are the people that we should measure towards. We're not far off on that. Also, the 0.3 that we will have in there, 3.3, is what we've dedicated to pay PSPRS down in addition to. And so that 0.3 doesn't go into our general fund to do the things we're trying to achieve. It's paying that credit card a little bit in advance for the future, but it's not going back in. So one would argue that we're really going to be about that 3.0 area. And everybody got a chance to look at that. Go to the next slide. Now, these are what I call rural travel destinations. And they have the counties in there just so you know what we're looking at. But these are the cities we compete with. Bisbee, number one. We're a mining town, they're a mining town, we're still functioning. Superior's in there, Superior's at 4%. Jerome, very small, but just a gigantic magnet, 3.5. And you can see for yourself the differences. Actually, Payson, they're at 2.88, but I call that Phoenix North. Everybody drives up there for the cabins. You have Pine Top Lakeside. You can see for yourself what we have here. So, and go ahead. Let's go next. City investments needed. What will we do with the money? We will collect additional revenues, and these revenues are needed to help show the deficit problem we have, because we have so many people coming into our city that need services. What we've identified in general, replacement of our 100-plus-year-old fire station, of course, ensuring new recreational lifestyle investments, the parks, the playgrounds, community pool are kept like new. And this, we talked about this many multiple times. We're bringing in all this every time we get new one-time capital money, and we're going to buy something, and then John goes, ugh. And so we need to invest in that. providing quality municipal services to both visitors and travelers and residents of Globe. To provide those, there's a holistic look at what it takes to provide quality municipal services. But one of those key factors are our staff and our people. And so we need to make sure that we're competitive and that we have the professionals that we have, we maintain the professionals we have, and to provide those services, it starts with your staff. And then number 4, better position ourselves to take advantage of the opportunities we know are just around the corner. Every time, I didn't know 48 hours ago that Bob Holmes can let us know that there are 2 additional sources for money, an earmark from Kelly and more one-time money from there. But we have to be able to take this money and not just, Globe has been good about getting grants, but implementing has sometimes been a problem. We're past those days. We're getting these funds, we're getting these investments, we're getting these capital improvements, but we need to be prepared to accept those and to run with them and take advantage of that. It's one thing to to have good luck, but to be prepared that when that luck comes your way, when that opportunity comes your way, that you know what to do with it, that you have the staff, you have the capacity, you have the reputation of producing, that somebody will invest in you and come, when they come shopping and looking around the globe, like this, our investment will be in good hands, our donations will be in good hands, and we need to keep that ability, because that will build on our success, and we will have that tipping point where that investment will bring more opportunities to us we believe are around the corner. You want to hit the one more? Next steps. This is what we have to do. We're asking council to to approve the notice of intent for 60 days to raise the city sales tax by what we had discussed previously, the 1%. And as part of that will also be an adoption of an ordinance, and that'll be the first read of the ordinance. We will meet with residents and groups alike as requested to continue the education process. I will be at the Rotary tomorrow, and they don't know it, but I'm sure I'll get questions about this. I'd be happy to do this. And I'm happy to meet with anyone that comes to you and you want to have myself. I'd be happy to sit down as many times as it takes. This is so important to the city. We have so much to share. It is such important that the facts come out and that they understand. They may, all we can do is tell them our story. I think we have a good story and a good plan that council is considering, and be happy to tell that. We'll be starting Citizen Academy, and I'm sure we'll talk about this tomorrow night. Return to council on May 24th for public hearing and final approval of the ordinance. We'll submit the ordinance to the Department of Revenue to initiate their 60-day implementation period, although it may take longer for everybody to get on board and get everything changed. And then the effective date, technically the effective date would be August 1, 2022 if we pass this on the 24th. Next slide. Questions? And we can go back to any of the number slides if you like. Go ahead, Marianne.
Can you pull that slide back up, Paul, regarding how we stand with similar cities and towns in Arizona? The filtered one.
The travel destination.
The travel destination.
50 to 100, 5,000 and 10,000.
Either one's fine.
Okay.
What I'm trying to get to is this. For the most part, all cities and towns, except for the newest ones, all started at the same time. And yet there were those populations of cities and towns that grew tremendously. And their tax rates are in the 1 to 2.5%. Why is that? You can analyze that all day long, but 1 is tourism, 2 is industry, and 3 is a self-generating economy.
Oh.
All of that we see in the urban centers. Okay, this set has not enjoyed that growth for whatever reason. And in your diatribe earlier, you alluded to several great points. We are progressing, and this is a cost of doing business and surviving and growing in a rural county, in a rural setting. We've put in place things that will be attractive, that do cost money. But the most important thing is that you recognize the component of who's paying for this. That particular component of that tax pays for these things. And yes, we as citizens will be paying part of that, but a majority of the inbound tourista, traveler, will be paying for a bulk of that. And that's what I like hearing the most, is that we're having the people who use the amenities or the services of the city will be paying for that. And I think each of us, the cities and towns in that population range, are figuring this out, that we must attract, we must get them here, and this is one of our lifelines to approach the future. Yes, I'd like for us to be the next Prescott or the next South Tucson. We take it one step at a time. I think we're very fortunate that we have been able to task and grab all of this available grant and other monies, local, state, federal, and other donors locally. We're doing those things in our strategic plan to grab that. But we also have to look at our future inwardly also. We have to pay for that. And that's one piece of the puzzle. And the other option is to do nothing. And you and I had that discussion the other day. What do we have? What do we do if we do nothing? Well, then we will have nothing 3 to 5 years from now, because we didn't do the upkeep of this or that project. We've got to do this now with a rising economy, and that's what we have in Arizona, and take advantage of that revenue stream with all the powerful marketing that we're doing, with putting in amenities and putting in services from wherever the revenue is coming through, grants and otherwise. If we don't do that, we're going to fall behind. And that is what I fear, that we don't take the bull by the horns and make sure that we can take care of that pool, that we can help that developer come into the community with infrastructure. So this is one component of that puzzle that we've got to take a hard look at and help it along. I don't like taxes either. My bill in some of these places, is going to go up, like you mentioned in the other charts. I get that, but it's minimal compared to doing nothing today and watching costs go up a few years from now. We've got to be able to cover those expenses. So I think we're doing everything in the mix that we should be, including this one. So that's all I have,
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Gonzalez, just real quick, it's not like we're saying if you raise our taxes, we'll do something for you. We have produced, we have made a difference, and it's helped us hang on to that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that we give the opportunity open it for comment for each councilman if they want to comment on this. So raise if you want to comment, Jesse.
Thank you. Paul, I think, like Mariano said, I don't like raising taxes, but I think this is a no-brainer. We have to. The residents expect a certain standard from Globe now, and we've given it. Under your direction and this council's direction, we've given it. I think that we are giving to our employees everything that they need, hopefully everything that they need, and we've done so under grants and finding money elsewhere that we can. Every rock unturned, we are finding it. But in order to keep growing as a city, we have to keep growing internally. And to grow internally, we have to make money to keep that growing.
Got to get ahead of the curve.
I mean, we've seen that with our insurance costs with the city. City's taking it, and taking it so much that we've now decided to sit down and figure out, okay, how do we pass along but not overdo it? Because we know what it means to have money in your pocket versus an insurance. But if we don't start now with a 1%, in 5-10 years, it's going to be a 5%, and it's going to hit it's going to hit hard. So in order to grow, we have to keep pushing that. And like I said, I'm the first to say I don't like raising taxes. I don't like that. Doesn't sit well with me. But this is a no-brainer. In our first Citizens Academy, we had a gal that said, back in her day, the roads were done. The roads were all paved, and it was all done great. Well, now in my day, the roads cost way more than what they did in her day. So the only way we're going to pay for that is raising taxes to get more fire people, firemen, policemen, roads,
Anybody else have any comments on? Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I've always been of the mindset that if taxes are gonna be raised, we must be able to provide something, some benefit to the community for that. I too don't like raising taxes, but I'm also a realist in, me managing a business, with an employer, that realizes, understands that there are always rising costs, to manage and run a business. And that's no different with the city. The costs continue to rise. And if we continue to try and shelter those costs through other mechanisms that we're, hopeful that grant writers can get us, things like that, that's a false sense of reality, because grants are not guaranteed. The one concept that I truly believe is the best way to do this is by doing it the way our city manager and staff is laying it out, in that, the sales tax is if for every $1 that a city employee pays, we're gonna get back 3 or 4 times more than that from those people that are traveling through. And more so, we already know we have an abundance of traffic coming through Globe. We know that. And to capture that is an absolute great idea. But the more that we can not just make the city of Globe a pass-through to go somewhere else, if we can entice, and we're on track, I believe, if we can entice these passers-by, make Globe a destination of a place of destination, not just fuel up and leave, but fuel up, eat, spend the night, go to a nice downtown festivity that we're gonna have on April 9th, by the way. And that just increases that revenue stream. So, I firmly agree that this is, it's time, the time is now. When you look at the alternatives, the percentage is relatively small. The increase of percentage is relatively small. But it has the greatest impact because we're tapping into those visitors that we're trying to draw on. So it's if this is the way we're gonna do it, I think this is the way to do it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brady. Whatever.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So, when the state got in trouble with their finances, the first thing they did is pull our highway user funds, which is money we're supposed to get to fix our roads to help us supplement it. Then the state cuts their taxes and they expect us to take a cut because they're not gonna collect as much money. And so every time they pull back, it literally affects our pocketbooks, which is something that sometimes we don't remember, we don't factor that in, and it really needs to be. One thing I would point out though is that a sales tax is considered what they consider a regressive tax. So people on the lower income scale, their income isn't going up, but their expenses will go up. And property owners are the ones that generally are perceived to have more money because they own property. But that doesn't necessarily play out because those people live somewhere. And if you're renting from somebody, all they're doing is passing that tax on to you. So it doesn't really work that way. So the fact that we're not increasing taxes on food is very, very important to me. And so I don't want to see that change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like our responsibility is to be responsible and be prepared for the future. I think we're making a lot of really good moves that are going to put us in a position to grow, to take advantage of the current economy, take advantage of all the stuff that infrastructure that's out there. Yes, everything's expensive, but when we can get 25% of it forgiven, it's a smart move. And so I think we're making all the right moves, and I think this is something that we have to do whether we want to or not. Thank you, Mayor.
Mike?
Along with my fellow council members, I would have to agree that it is the right thing to do. And sales tax, it makes it fair to everybody. And, I drive downtown all the time, come through town, and I wonder, where in the heck are all these people coming from? And they're not all just residents of our community. They're coming from all over the place. And that means they're spending money in this community, okay? And we need to make sure we capture what we can to benefit our community. They come into our community, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, you go to, not Bashes, you go to Fry's on a Friday afternoon, and there's more trucks, trailers, campers, boats that are coming in, buying gas, buying food. The food probably that won't get taxed, but they're buying gas. They're stopping in our restaurants. We've got to move now. I think this council has proved that we're pretty progressive thinking, and we want to provide services and recreation to our community, and that's the only way to do it. And I would agree with Fernando that we got to leave the property taxes alone. I don't think that's the right way to go, but I think this is the right way to go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mike.
I agree too. Nobody wants to raise taxes. It's always oh no, here we go, raising taxes. But like everybody said, we're at a growth spurt right now. We're growing and growing and growing, and seeing people. I'm fortunate where I see a ton of visitors coming through town. Happens every week. Used to be just Fridays and Saturdays. My Tuesday is Tuesday and Saturday now. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand, but it's happening. So these people are coming to Globe and checking things out here all the time. I'm going to be back. This is a really cool town. I've never been up here before. So why not capture that? We're growing as a city, as a council, and everything else. Things are happening fast. So why not capture that? And unfortunately, this is what's going to happen. So I'm all for it. So.
Thank you, Mike. I have a few comments. This council's always had a vision of growth, increased growth, and increased activity in our community. It began back in 2012, 13, 14. I think Jerry alluded to that with loans under the direction of Mayor Wheeler, where we invested in our upgrades in our water systems throughout the city. And that's a basis to start economic development. And then when this council came into play, and I think it was 2016, is when we took economic development was a priority. We went on branding, marketing our city, taking advantage of tourism. We took the lead and try and control our own destiny as a city. I think we were really aggressive with that. In our SAP, in our strategic action plan, it's addressed. Housing is an issue. Quality of life and education were identified, and we've taken the lead in trying to push in development of housing that we need to have in our community. Quality of life, we're going to see it. I know we're talking a lot about that. We got the pool, we got equipment, playground equipment. We got different things going on as far as improving the quality of life of people that live here. Other cities have taken advantage of population, and they get that increase and able to operate. We have not grown. In fact, we lost a couple of hundred in population in the last census. But yet we have 28 to 30,000 people that drive, or vehicles that drive through our community every day. And they utilize our resources, police, fire, public works. They use our parks, our streets, and our future pool. And who foots the bill? Our residents do. So how do we take advantage of that? How do we balance it out? And this is the way we do it. We're able to get a return, and people are able to invest or put into the resources that they use when they visit our community. We have continued upgrades. We heard today, police equipment, fire, police, public works, infrastructure. We still dealing with facilities, the new fire station, manpower. We need to, and this council showed we care about our employees. So we need to be a competitive employer. We can't continue to say that, lose people because they're getting paid better somewhere else. We need to continue to invest in our employees. You know, the 1% is not gonna affect the everyday resident, really, if you look at it, and Paul, spelled it out. It's gonna be the big item, that's gonna have a big effect, but everyday purchases and eating out and stuff, it's not gonna affect anything like that. So, you know, this can't be accomplished unless we raise the sales tax, and we can't continue to kick it down the road, these issues. We need to think bigger and bolder about our city, and we're gonna see the returns in the future if we continue to do that. So, you know, I think this is the right thing to do. I think we've discussed this, you know, we thought of this in our future and how we're gonna sustain all the things that are happening in our community, and this is the way to do it, to balance it out so everybody contributes to the resources or to our community.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple quick follow-ups. I know that there are very few people on those lists that show their sales tax that have the same population they had 100 years ago. We have not been able to use growth to get ahead of the curve, so we have to do it this way. The other thing, to Councilman Shipley's point, the other thing you didn't mention but made me think is every year the state legislature tries to exempt more and more things from sales tax. And there have been many studies showing that they're whittling away at the volume of things that are taxed, which means that the tax on things that are left. And so then they're like, well, it's more, you know, there's more tax on things that are left, so let's exempt them until there's nothing left. So you know, that's just a phenomenon. But to Councilman Letham's point, I was there and I heard that comment about what changed from, it used to be we had great things, and it's not that things are more expensive. You know, we know that the inflation is not inflation, but prices go up. It's the volume, it's the magnitude of what it takes to provide services. I was looking at one of Stan Gibson's staff reports, and they're just so basic and so simple, and there's not all these, you know, things. Just life, you know, life used to be simpler back then. Fernando, I know you know this, but it just takes more things that you've got to take care of to run each department. The sum total is we have to have that ability to maintain what we've already proven we can do. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for your support. And this is what we talked about. This has been your desire, and I hope I brought forward a plan that meets your balance. And I know you care greatly about your citizens and residents, and I think we're doing this the right way.
We have a motion to, is this pass along, or is this a waive the rule to?
No, this will come back. Okay, Kelly, so this will be.
A motion to have staff post a notice of intent and approve the first reading of the ordinance and bring that at the May 24th meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I can make a motion to recommend that the council approve the first reading of ordinance 80 and direct staff to post a required notice of intent on the web page for 60 days and bring back to council on May 24th, 2022, regular council meeting for the public hearing and consideration of approval.
Motion and second for approval for ordinance 880 and procedures moving forward. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We go to action item 6A, consideration to approve resolution number 1851, uncollectible water debt. Jody and Shelley, can you read resolution number 1851, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Resolution number 1851, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, providing for treatment of certain debts owed the city which have been deemed potentially uncollectible, and removing same from the records as assets of the City of Globe and providing direction for future treatment of the same. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Shelley. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We're here for the second reading of Resolution 1851 and for uncollectible water debt in the amount of $17,022.69. Your approval.
Just a comment, I wasn't here last meeting, and I see that number is $17,000 this year. I mean, we've been as low as 7, and we had some years of 12. Is this mainly because of COVID, or do we have return violators of non-payment?
No, it is, and I remember you weren't here for the first, I'm gonna get my numbers. Estimated loss, Mayor, due to the pandemic was $7,914. And then, 3 accounts made up of Arizona Water, just sewer and garbage. There were 3 on there that were over $5,000 total. So that's over $12,000 of the 17. Last year it was a little over 4, so that would put us right back down there, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Mayor, I would move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for approval of Resolution 1851. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Jody. Thank you for waiting a long time.
Yes, so patient. Oh, we're not there yet.
Item B, consideration to approve Resolution 1853 to adopt the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Pension Funding Policy and request to waive Section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. And Jeannie presenting, and Shelley, can you read Resolution 1853?
Mayor, resolution number 1853, a resolution of the City of Globe, County of Gila, State of Arizona, adopting the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Pension Funding Policy. Is council pleased with the reading?
Yes. Jeannie, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Good evening again. So this should be your last resolution for tonight. This is, in 2019, legislation was enacted to, the word escaped me, to require municipalities to post a PSPRS funding policy on their city website. This was done in 2019 on our city website. However, I did not realize that when we changed city websites, we lost that. And so PSPRS came to me and said, you have the current funding policy on your website. And I said, no, we don't. So the policy that you have before you tonight is a template from the League of Cities. And it's a requirement that every year at the end of June, these things be updated. So every year we're going to have to bring this back to you with a new resolution. But it takes the actuarial totals that are the most recent available, which at this point are June 2021. And we put those numbers into the league template, so everything is transparent, and then that will get posted on our city website. Do you have any questions as to how the numbers came about?
Jeannie, thank you. I don't think we have any questions.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. We'll be bringing you a new resolution in June with new figures.
Okay. Jeannie, thank you. Hang on a second then.
Mayor, I motion to approve resolution number 1853 and waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule.
Motion and a second for approval of Resolution 1853 and waive the prior discussion rule. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Item C is discussion and consideration to approve the purchase from Empire Cat of a 420-074 backhoe in the amount of $104,924.54, and the 416-24 thumb attachment in the amount of $11,950.96, for a total amount of $116,875.50, budget and account number 50-80-5200, water CIP equipment, and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This should be an easy one. Actually, this actually falls into the Jerry Barnes, way of thinking. When we worked on our CIP this year, we're looking to replace some of the equipment where we traditionally move equipment and, as it's getting aged and, needs to be replaced. This was a requested item. It was budgeted and approved. But what this really was, started off was, as the post-fires, pre-flooding, situation arose, we found that we were in the need of a thumb. The thumb is the little claw that you see on the back of a backhoe for multiple, reasons of use for creek mitigation. I'm pretty sure at this point, most of you have seen the video that I took on the hospital road where we're pulling a horse trailer out of that. That's prime example of this equipment. It is the backhoe that's actually being utilized now because unfortunately we had another one that was taken out of service. And still currently we're working through that process. But what originally initiated Jerry and Jessica in the office when we're going through funding and going through DEMA request, this was an item that was actually we were hoping to get passed to get purchased through that funding. I believe it was 3 times, Jerry. Yeah. So they applied it multiple times, but actually it was approved for a lease agreement. That's what they would approve. What that did in turn was actually help us bring down the cost of the equipment. So that's why this current value actually, as of a month or 2 weeks ago, the same backhoe actually is up to $145,000 now. So what that did is actually reduce the cost that we're looking at the payment for this payout right now. And then also trying to order this equipment, we would actually be falling behind because everything's on hold, including some of our trucks.
Very good. Wait for now.
So I have this secret fantasy of owning the backhoe. So Denise doesn't know yet, so don't tell her. But the used ones that are on public surplus are going for $25,000, and that's the ones that the other cities have already given up on. So that ought to tell you that this is a pretty good deal.
Any,
Mayor,
go ahead.
I recommend approval of the purchase from Empire Cat of a 4020-074 backhoe in the amount of $104,924.54 and a 416-24 thumb attachment in the amount of $11,950.96 for a total amount of $116,875.50, budgeted in account number 50-80-5200, water CIP equipment, and request to waive section 2-410A, prior discussion rule.
Motion and second for approval of item 6C under action items. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Item D is consideration and possible approval of contract number CS-2022-0014 to BMS Cat Stratton Restoration for mitigation and restoration of the fire damage at the Globe Fire Department building in the amount of $48,007.64 and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. Chief Robin.
Good evening again. The contract you had before you is, as we discussed earlier, is we did experience a fire in the fire station.
Well, you weren't there.
Thanks. Yeah.
We won't laugh
Thanks.
too hard.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't laugh at all at the time. Thanks to another emergency call that occurred, the crew was actually able to locate that and extinguish it fairly rapidly. Another few minutes and we would be in very different circumstances, or dealing with very different circumstances. When that fire occurred, the need to mitigate the damage, that occurred to make, to make the building somewhat safe for us to continue to occupy and operate out of. We identified Stratton Restoration out of the valley as a vendor that was able to come up rapidly, start the mitigation side of cleaning, taking out material that was damaged, that would ultimately need to be replaced. They were able to jump on that very rapidly, and then going forward, we asked them to provide a proposal for the restoration side of this. Thanks to an emergency declaration that occurred with the city, we were able to move forward quickly with that. Although, as you find with any of these, we always face some time getting that done, but they have been very, very responsive to everything we need. The cost you see in front of you, as far as the $48,007.64, a large portion of that is paid by the insurance company. There are some costs that were not covered. There were a few things that we asked for that they weren't willing to cover. Some repairs in the ceiling, in a portion of that they didn't want to cover the cost of, and we asked to not put carpet back into those office spaces because of the exhaust issues that we deal with. That's just one more thing to trap that in. So those costs, based on that, I think you had before you, I think it was 11,000 and something that were additional costs that we incurred as part of our budget process. But they have done very good work. They've been good to work with. We anticipate probably within the next 2 weeks they'll be completed, hopefully, and be able to wrap up everything that they've done for approval.
So I assume, because insurance contracts are contracts of indemnity, so that means that if you have carpet, they owe you for carpet, but that doesn't mean you have to, they still give you an allotment based on the carpet price, right?
Yes, they paid up to a given amount that included what the cost would have been to replace the carpet. We just went above and beyond that.
Any other questions or comments for Chief?
Mayor, I would move to approve contract CS 20220014 to BMS CAT Stratton Restoration for a mitigation and restoration of the fire damage to the Globe Fire Department building in the amount of $48,007.64, and waive section 2-4-10A. Prior discussion now.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 6D. Is there any further discussion? Just a quick question, Chief. The emergency declaration helped in the process from the last incident that occurred? I mean,
Yes,
as far as
it-
getting things moving?
Yeah, we've pretty much been able to mitigate both the flooding
Okay.
issue that we had, as well as the fire is almost mitigated. As with anything right now with contractors and that, the timeframes have been a little bit challenging for them. Materials have been a little bit challenging for them, but they've been open with everything that they've shared, and we've discussed timeframes and stuff.
Good.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Gary, you relocated to the CVS building for that time where they were doing the repairs?
Yes, currently, the deputy chief and I are operating and very, very happily out of the CVS building. It's proven to be a good alternative for.
It's safer because of the.
Yeah, there was no way we could occupy the spaces that are currently.
But you'll be going back to the fire station when all work's complete? Or?
That is a discussion we would like to hold.
Like that.
As a going forward, we always face a need for training spaces and stuff. We haven't had that discussion, but it is something we would like to discuss going forward. How we use those spaces.
No other comments? I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Do we have any late agenda items?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we do not.
Do we have call to the public, any on email or phone, second call to the public?
There's nothing on email, so checking the phone. Nope. No,
Okay.
in the public.
Scheduling of meetings.
Nothing planned.
Council work group information report?
So, go ahead. So, Mr. Mayor, as we adopted the policy, we did hold one meeting of the infrastructure meeting, and 3 members are here with you tonight. We're in that meeting, and so this is a place where you see what was discussed briefly, future agenda items, and if you weren't at that meeting, this is your chance to ask questions. If you were at that meeting, this is your chance to offer some feedback to your fellow council members. And Mr. Mayor, I think you have a live one up there.
It's pretty self-explanatory what we did in our infrastructure meeting. Mariano and Fernando were there with us, and
Yeah, I saw it.
we covered it.
And I think the one variation that came up with the work group is that we follow the normal process, which is to kick it back to P&Z, and then it'll come back to the full council, even though we kind of started at council, but we just want to get it on track.
Any other input? Questions? Okay, we'll go to consideration of future agenda items. Anybody have any? And I'd just like to comment on, I think we discussed this for future, just making sure that we follow up with a colonial designation of the city of Globe. And I don't think that goes to work group. And then I'd like to, I know I've had questions, but an update and maybe some timeline on Connie's Bridge.
Oh, on
Again.
Okay.
So in the future, we can get that. So
That'd be great.
You don't want to head nod.
We're not gonna, you can't respond now, Jerry, but what's that?
I need another meeting with the infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
for Connie's, okay. So maybe that does go to the work group.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you want to go to the work group or?
Well, he's talking about a water tank, I think.
But we have we're getting back on board on our schedules. Let me check with you if we need to do a special meeting of the infrastructure. They had so much fun last time, I'm sure they'd be happy to do it again. They got
all kinds of time.
Yeah.
So that one will go back to work group, but an update on Connie's can just be done. Just a, yeah, brief, yeah, just an update. Yep.
So let's, okay, so,
Jerry.
One-page summary report.
so now, so Mr. Mayor, just, I'm thinking back to our policy. You're asking for council to consider and have a update, skipping the subcommittee, but come back to council, update on Connie's Bridge.
Yeah, I think just a timeline. I think there's been some questions that I've gotten from residents as to, you know, when it, I know we know, but maybe they're listening and want to hear an update when it's gonna be or started or completed, stuff like that.
But that, I'm supporting. Okay, yeah, so that's what I wanted, all we need is a motion and a second, and we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll report that the mayor passed it, and then we're good. Now, the rest of you are.
We had nothing to do with it. Not me.
Did what?
Okay.
Wow, look at how fast we work.
Look at that.
How about
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to go into executive session? Motion second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, before the camera cuts, we're going to go into session, come back, no further action expected, and everybody's released except for John and Jerry.
Thank you
And
for attending
Lisa.
Thank you.
online or